With episode 39 of PuckPod by Media Sports. This is our last episode, I want to say, for this season. Instead of talking about our reflections and asking about how the day, let's just jump right into it. And then at the end, we'll talk about the season and then our year and what we thought about the podcast. I'm going to open up with a banger. Dude, this team made a lot of moves, and they might honestly be my favorite to win the cup if they make one more trade or one more addition. It's the Carolina Hurricanes. They signed Antti Ranta, Frederick Anderson, Michael Bunting, and Dmitry Orlov. Okay. Are you guys sold on this team yet? Because after all the moves they made, I think I am.
I'm pulling up the depth chart right now. I gotta put my eyes on this chart and be like, okay, what are we talking about here? Um, yeah, Brian, that looks pretty good. That looks pretty good. Listen,
Pretty good,
it's
right? It's the best in the league.
no, it's more. I feel like where you got to start with the Hurricanes is the goaltending, honestly, and the fact that they got Freddie and Ranta. They retained both of their goalies from last year.
On less money.
Well, exactly. So you've kept your goaltending the same. They took a discount to do so, and you can allocate that money elsewhere. And so far, they have. You got Bunting. We have Orlov. There was one other signing you said there. What was the other signing? I'm already blanking on who else the Hurricanes added. Or
Um,
no, it was just that.
it's possibly
Bunting.
EK. Like it might be that
Oh,
might be the
okay.
acquisition. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so I would have to think if they do that, though, if the Hurricanes do that,
They're the cup
it's
favorites.
got to be sure, but also, can you do all that and keep Pesci? I think that's the big question. That's the huge question. They have right now projected 2.8 million in cap space. Okay, actually, here, I think I've got to figure it out. You know what they would do? They wouldn't ship out Pesci. They would ship out Teravainen. That'd be the way to go. That's what you do. But let's talk about the signings. I'm getting away
Ta-
already so ahead of
Tavo
ourselves. Where do you guys want
Teravainen,
to start?
the
I
guy
want to
that
I
start
feel
with
made
like we have
Orlov.
he made you
okay.
eat your words last year, Christian, man. I don't know if you want
That
to do
was
that one
funny,
more
eh?
time.
The
Man, that
day
was a
after
good
he
one.
scores. Okay. Orlov, I think it's 7.75x2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just the sweet spot right before the cap goes up for the Russian defender. Um, Orlov's a top two or top four on any team in the league. This guy's gonna be playing on their bottom six. Like,
I was gonna say, I'm like, yeah, top two, top three, and then you look at the Hurricanes. What is he? So you put Slavin ahead of him.
Yeah.
Honestly, after the year that Burns had, I put Burns ahead of him.
Pesci's
So he's
better.
probably the three. I say no. I could take him over Pesci or Shea, but like it's close. And
Yes.
all of those guys are threes or fours. They
Like
only
the
have
reason
one guy that's a five or six. That's
the
it.
reason I say he's gonna be playing on their bottom six is because like the top line, Slavin and Burns, and like that's just
Gross.
there. That's like probably the best pairing in the league. And then Shea and Pesci, that's the defensive combo, right? So you put them in the second pairing, and then you leave the transition pairing for Orlov, I guess. So that's their third pairing. Um, yeah, this is a big move. I don't know. I'm sold on it. And then they added Bunting for what? On a value deal, I'd say. I think he took a bit
Let's
of a.
go back to Orlov for a second though. Do you like it? You like it for the Hurricanes? How do you like it for Orlov?
I do like it because Orlov plays a transition system. He likes to be fast on the puck. It fits it fits the Hurricane seamlessly. And you gotta remember with Rod, you're getting 110% value out of the player. Orlov at 110% playing on your third pairing. That's a
So
pretty good signing.
when he's up in 2 years, though, when
Yep.
he's 33 years old, can he really get the bag again? Did he miss out on getting the bag by taking 2 years here instead of a longer term deal,
No, because the
even if
cap's
it's at a
going up.
slightly lower number?
No, because the cap's going up. He'll get the term and
Um,
you'll get paid.
I
I don't
I
think he'll
I
get term at 33. I think he'll get another like 2 or 3 year deal.
yeah,
Potentially, I could see
but
him getting a
probably at a
4x.
probably at a higher cap rate though. Like not at, like maybe at like an 8 or a 8.5 in 2 years. I think right
Maybe.
now this is I
Win now.
want a win. Yeah. He has a cup ring already, so it's not like he's chasing per se, but it would look nicer with a second, maybe a third cup ring. You know what I mean? If he adds in another cup, I think it's almost guaranteed that his number will rise, but probably not his term. You know what I
But,
mean?
but
It's like I don't
uh,
think it's gonna go down in 2 years if he continues at his pace of play. and he just like he just honestly he just fits the Carolina system. Exactly what you said. Like if you're gonna pick a player to plug in, obviously probably not at a 5 at that number. I would imagine like if somebody goes down or something happens, like he instantly like moves up regardless. You know what I mean? Like what an embarrassment of riches to have, right? Like where your 5 guy, let's just say, like the guy coming in making 7 mil is like could potentially be your 1D. Crazy. Like that's insane. I don't even know. Like that's insane value, I guess you could say. Even though it's like 7, like it's eating at 7 mil, but
There are teams in the league with a worse top pairing, like defensive pair, than Carolina has on their as their bottom 3. Like Orlov and Chatfield or whatever is better than, I don't know,
I would say
Vatanen
like
and whoever else.
Orlov and
probably
Chatfield, I think, could have like reasonably been our first pair, like
the
for the
Leafs.
Leafs.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
you could get by with that if you told me that was the
Yeah.
first pair. I'd be like, okay, yeah, sure. That's crazy. Yeah. Speaking of the
100%.
Leafs, let's move to bunting. So as I said that I wasn't as big a fan of the age for Orlov and the 2-year deal. Bunting, I think it makes lots of sense. A 3-year deal at 4.5 because he's only 27 years old. So he reasonably can get a long-term deal when this is done because he'll be 30. And we saw lots of 30-year-olds just in recent free agency periods, not just this one. They can get term still. You can still get term at 30 years old. So I think it's a really good fit. Um, Carolina isn't exactly in need of more guys that can penalty kill. So Bunting's got no pressure there because he didn't penalty kill with us. He's not necessarily crazy good defensively. He's just okay. He's just all right.
Adequate. That's all you have to be.
Adequate. Very.
But
That's
now he has
well
Rod
put.
behind him, and he has the
Sure.
Carolina system. So instantly he becomes a good defensive player. His metrics are going to go up just based off that.
I don't know if he'll get the same point totals that he did with the Leafs.
He'll
It
go
might.
down.
I think it'll be probably like 45, 55 in a good year. 20 goals flat. I think that's what you should probably expect. But yeah, he has that other element too, right? So we'll see how much of that element he carries with him. And it's weird because under Keefe, we saw that relationship kind of build tension over the year. And it'll be really curious to see how Rod the Bod does with Bunting because I feel like he'll either be beloved right away or he might find himself in the doghouse and have to earn his way out. But either way, like it's a really good deal. Can't really complain. He had to leave the Leafs no matter what. I think just the optics. This is kind of the Kadri scenario all over again. It wouldn't have necessarily made sense to bring him back. He represents a spot where you can change the lineup for the Leafs. So all parties involved, I think it's good.
There's one more thing I just wanted to point out. His point totals will probably go down. He'll probably be playing third line. I expect him to be playing with Kokaniemi and Jesper Fast or something like that. Weaker teammates, but pace is going to be there. Work ethic's going to be there.
And
And
he's an up and down the lineup guy. If he
yeah,
has to go on your first line in a pinch, he totally can.
and it's also going to kind of be hard to beat out Teravainen or Svechnikov
It
for
does
the top lifting spot.
does he also not just fit the whatever mold? Like
Yes.
there's 2 signings, like both of them are just like they just fit the mold of what Carolina has built. Like they fit the whole like ethos of Carolina. Michael Bunting, on Toronto, it seemed like it was only him that was willing to, you know, get into the dirty areas, get under people's skin. Now, while there might not be somebody else on Carolina who gets under people's skin quite like Michael Bunting, but you also have guys like Jordan Stahl, Jordan Martinook
Martinook.
are 2 guys that they will beat
Energy
the
guys.
shit. Yeah, they'll beat the shit out of
Brent
you.
Burns.
And they'll also, Brent Burns is another one. They'll beat the shit out of you, and they'll also make you pay offensively. And that's where I see him fitting in. Like Michael Bunting will get under your skin, and then he'll also score on you too. Like he does both of that.
I know
I like
I know it's too early, but I really like the way that this team looks right now. And I think that like this might be the cup favorite going into the next season.
And
I'll give them a grade.
they also brought back both of their
The goalies, yeah.
goalies,
Yep.
right? So they're
On
going
cheaper
with
numbers.
with proven goalies
They know what they're getting.
over like
It's like when
because
you
I
go
think
to
I
it's like when
think
you
we
go to the
had
store.
guys like what do we have like Tristan Jari and stuff like that. Like I think maybe
Some
if I
goalies got paid, man.
yeah. There was a
Yeah.
couple. There was a couple where it was like, wow, like good for you for getting the bag. But um I where I was going with that was some people had like I think I had maybe said like for Freddie that he was gonna test the open market and maybe potentially have a change of scenery. I think it's probably smarter on Carolina's part just to bring back the two guys that they had just because
They know what's going on.
what else were you gonna get? Like were you realistically gonna get an upgrade over Anderson from like Corpusalo or Jonathan Quick or whoever else was there, basically? Unless you were trading for Connor Hellebuck, which I don't think Carolina was willing to do. It's tough,
Yeah.
right? So smart on them. That's another thing I'll give them credit for. Getting back your two goalies, and you said and they are both on cheaper numbers, actually. I didn't even realize that. So
It
man,
seems like every time Dahl makes a move, it's like you're never disappointed, you're never
he's got the
upset.
Midas touch. Like there's
I
there's
do
no
wonder
way
how much
around
it's
it.
Waddell and how much it's the guys behind him, like the supporting cast, like the Tolskis and the
I
rest of the
think it
analytics
I
guys.
think it
But
comes
whatever the
down
system is, it
from
works.
I think it comes down from Waddell though. Like that's something you have to build, right? Like
Yeah.
you bring in Rod, people want to play for Rod, but you have to identify, you know, what type of culture you want in that locker room, and it starts from the top. Even I'll go as far as ownership. It starts with Tom Dundon. You know, Carolina in the past they had pretty questionable ownership. I think Tom Dundon has come in, he has kind of tightened up the purse strings in terms of actually paying out people. But what he also has done is made a small market team who's able to kind of thrift a little bit and also make them competitive and thrive basically year on year. So I'll start the credits from Tom
Up
Dundon and work my way
all the way
down.
down. Beautiful. Well said, Dave. So I mentioned that Carolina is my cup favorites. Let's talk about the team I don't think is going anywhere close to the cup, the Anaheim Ducks. They
Oh,
get two big guys, two big bodies, Alex Killorn and Radko Gudas. You guys a little bit shocked? I think I am a little bit.
I was shocked just based on the fact of what Killorn got. I think it's 6.25 by 4. I saw that number and I said, dear God, that does not bode well for teams looking for that type of player. Because that's going to drive the price up for guys big time. But didn't really. I still do like the fit. To me, the void that Killorn fills on the Ducks is a Ryan Kessler void. That's what I'm
yeah,
seeing there. That's
I
exactly what
like
I'm
that
seeing.
comparison.
And even the Gouda signing at 4 mil for 3 years, I still think people underrate the fact that Gudis is an actual hockey player. I know he's a part-time wrestler, but he is a full-time capable defenseman. He isn't just a bruiser. He can move the puck. He has a cannon. He's always, if you look at some of the shot tracking charts that get posted where it's just like hardest shots of the year, top 10,
Oh, it's
Gudis has
Gudis.
at least like 3 in the top 10,
Yeah.
and it's like near 100-mile-per-hour shots.
Dude,
So
every time he hits a clap bomb, it hits 3 digits. Like
yeah, yeah. So
So
listen, like he can play hockey. I like both sides, honestly.
it's just unfortunate, like for the both of them, like they could both play hockey. It's just unfortunate most of the team around them, it seems like they can't, but I think that's what they're trying to fix. This is another year. These are just guys that they signed what they locked up both of these guys like 6.25 for Killorn and 4. So that's 10 mil right there, 10.5 for two guys, and they're still like just below the cap floor. You know what I mean? They're just trying to
They need
get there.
defensemen.
They actually do. Like they genuinely do because they only have I see 3 potential
NHL guys.
defensemen, like
so
NHL defensemen on that team.
Yeah.
So just get to the cap floor. Hope that you bring the hope is that you bring in those guys. So McTavish, they're
Leo
probably not
Carlson.
right.
is he gonna come in like for sure?
I think so.
He'll at least get this shot to
The
start the
10.
year.
Yeah.
Right?
He'll
Yeah.
get the Shane Wright deal. I
Yeah.
feel yeah. So you
I
bring
think
in
he can
those
honestly
guys.
keep it too. I think he might actually stick.
Yeah, I think he's
Yeah,
NHL ready. Yeah.
So for
100%.
me, in terms of Anaheim free agency and Pat Verbeek, this is actually Pat Verbeek's second free agency go around with the Ducks. And I like what he did this season way more than what he did last year. As soon as I saw his signings last year, I was like, what the hell are you doing? They signed Ryan Strome to 5x5. And he proceeded to only put up 40 points this past season. And Vetrano to 3.65 by 3, also 41 points. I didn't like either of those signings. And I actually, even though these are two older guys, Kaloran and Gudis, I actually like these deals better for a Ducks team that's trying to turn the corner now than I did last season. So
In
don't mind these deals.
in regards to Killorn, he provides leadership, winning mentality. I think that's good to instill in like guys like Zegras really, really early. And look at like when Zellweger's contract ends, and look at when Gudis's contract expires. Harberbeek knows what he's doing. By the way, they expire at
Yeah.
the same time. Yeah, the ELC
I
for
think
Zellweger expire.
Zellweger will probably end up like, yeah, he'll get on this roster. He might even get a shot to start the year too.
Yeah, he
So
might.
maybe they do
The
have some defensemen.
I think out of all but between Carlson and Zell, I think like you want to keep the defenseman just cooking a little bit longer. So maybe
If he
not
can
this
play in
year.
the A this year, then yeah,
Yeah.
maybe
it's
stash him in the A.
it's the idea of trying to pass on like the mentality and the veteran leadership to the youth, which I think is the right idea for the situation. And let's be honest, they need to hit the floor anyway.
I
Yeah.
think
Does
I
So
think
the two things that people got to remember though with the Ducks, and in terms of hitting the floor, they're going to be fine, guys, because they have two
yeah,
major
I was
RFA deals.
just about to say like I
Yeah,
think the biggest story in their offseason won't be the free agent signings. It's going to be what number does Troy Terry and Trevor Zegras come in at, and how long? I would expect both of them to sign. Like Trevor Zegras has to serve. Like you have to give him
it's probably
almost like
somewhere around 8 for
eight x
both of
eight?
them. I think
you
it's
have to
probably
give
around
them
8.
like Trevor Zegras 100% needs like carte blanche there because like you know
Yeah.
what I mean.
Honestly, Zegers, maybe the way to go with him is a bridge deal because he had like a decent year, but the
Yeah,
Ducks past season was just terrible defensively for everyone. So maybe he says, give me a 2-year bridge deal at like 5.5 or 6, and then he gets that mega deal as a 24-year-old. I think
and
he
he'll
might
still
do
be an
that.
RFA, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly.
I,
So
Yeah.
to be honest with you, I think just lock them up both long term now. Specifically
I'm sure they would
Zegers.
love to, but I think if I'm Zegers,
Would
I'm saying, give
right,
me that
right.
bridge
yeah,
deal.
give me the bag
Yeah.
in 3 years,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah.
Even Terry might do the same, honestly. But things are looking up in Anaheim, and thank God they've got a uniform in the rotation this year. That's the biggest thing here.
Man,
That's the biggest thing.
that was the nicest sight to see at the draft was just
Yeah.
seeing those purples come back. Just oh man, go back to those
Eggplant
full
and
time.
Jade.
Oh man,
Okay.
just go back to them full
Let's
time.
let's talk about two teams that only made one signing. Matt Duchene goes to the Dallas Stars for a 3 million X1 contract, and Connor Brown goes to the Oilers for 4x1 contract. Which one do you like better for a mercenary signing?
Matthew
I feel like
Shane.
it's tough. Yeah, it's tough not to say Duchesne. Potentially less cap hit on your books. I know that Brown is making 75K this year, but there's the potential for a 3.25 or $225 million cap hit
All
against the Oilers next year.
all that's gonna take is one injury to like somebody like Zach Hyman, and Connor Brown moves up to the first line and
He's a
puts
70
up
point guy.
80 points, right? And there goes 3 mil right there, right? But
Yeah.
listen, I think we can all agree, all three of us. I know Brian, like Connor Brown has played on our teams, right? We've got to
4
see
games.
Connor Brown like up close and personal. Brian, if you had a at least half a season with Connor Brown, you would just say,
I'd be more
wow,
attached. Yeah.
You'd be mad.
you would be like, wow, I wish we didn't lose him. And I could say this sentiment for me and Christian going back to was it 2018 or 2019 when we lost him.
Yeah.
He's a fantastic player, but dude, 1 mil for Matt Duchene, and you're just throwing him in.
Oh, it's a 3 mil. 3 mil X4.
Still,
Is it 3 mil?
1 mil less than Brown potentially,
Oh,
Yeah.
right.
right?
So, and you're throwing him into a Dallas Stars top 9.
That's already
That-
stacked.
Yeah,
very
they
gross.
just made it to a conference finals. They had trouble scoring in that conference finals. Does this help, that extra fire, like, does this extra firepower get you over the hump? That is what Jim Nill is asking out of Matt Duchene this year. Does
It
his
might.
3 mil pot in, whatever, another 3 to 4 or 5 goals in that conference final playoff run to get them to a cup final?
It's a
Dude,
very
I
strong
kind of want to
contend.
see. This is maybe a little not selfish of me, but I just want to see this for the memes. I want to see a line of Jamie Benn, Matt Duchene, and Tyler Seguin. That would be that if you were in 2013 and you hear
Oh,
that line, you're like, oh, that's dirty.
that's
That's
that
best
was
line in the league right there.
that was
That's
my
a solid trade
NHL.
line.
That was my NHL 13 or 14 like first line,
That's
GM
your
I
mode.
think,
dream line.
on my
Yeah,
ultimate
listen,
team
man.
or my GM
There's
mode.
there's a chance that they end up with like two formidable trios because we already know that Robertson, Hintz, and Pavelski is just like lightning in a bottle. And if they can capture it again with either of their second or third lines and any mixture of the guys, like there's still Wyatt Johnston, Dadonov,
Parchment.
Marchment, because
Nathan
you
Marchment.
can use a bounce back here,
And
but there's
Duchesne.
still we know
They
there's
could
more in
have
there.
they could have 3 trios like that. That's
Yeah,
how
yeah,
deep it
yeah.
goes, right?
And
Like,
dude, their
why?
fourth line,
Oh
it's
man,
they got Delangelo on their fourth line now. That's pretty
4
damn good.
trios.
That's
And
That's
they got
quads.
Foxa on
Oh,
their as their fourth line center is beautiful because we know just a total shutdown guy. He's the punt guy. Honestly, okay, this blows my mind. Radek Faksa feels like he's been around forever. Do you guys know how old Radek Faksa is?
27.
26. I don't know.
29, but to me, like he's
Oh wow.
33. To me, he's 33. Like that's
Yeah.
crazy to me. And I just want to really quickly point out they signed my boy Gregory Smith, who I
Oh,
don't know why I've always wanted him on the
Did they
Leafs, but
really?
AHL
I didn't see
veteran.
that.
yeah, they got him on a 1-by-1, so he'll play on their fourth line.
The
I like that.
13. He
I
is
don't know
the
if Ryan
13
has
man.
any thoughts of his time as a
So
Capital, but
irrelevant. So
I
irrelevant,
like
man.
him.
Mr.
I like him,
Irrelevant.
man. I don't know why, but I do.
Okay.
Um, Good signings.
For both
And I
teams.
guess we could talk on, I don't know if we really did anything on Connor Brown, but like what
Yeah,
else
true.
is there to say? Right now he adds depth. Depth that Edmonton probably has been lacking since, I don't like, for all of Connor McDavid's tenure there, right? But in a
I,
pinch, dude, that is one of the most dependable players in the NHL for my
so
money.
so a couple of years ago, if you wanted to get paid, what you'd do is if you wanted to get paid, what you would do is you would sign a 1 year with the Penguins or sign a 1 year with the Islanders to play with John Tavares or Sidney
Or
Crosby,
with
right?
the
Crosby.
Caps.
Yeah. So because you would like load up on points and stuff, and I feel like I'm getting the vibe from this. You play with McDavid, you play with Draisaitl, you're gonna get some points, then you're gonna get paid the next year. So why
All
not?
right, we can say the same thing about the Leafs too. And what usually happens is
Right. Well,
a guy will sign with the Leafs, they'll put up a bunch of points, and where will they go? They'll go to Edmonton.
Edmonton. Right to another point producer.
Now Edmonton's cutting it. They've cut off the middleman, and they just said, "Guys, why don't we just sign those guys in the first place?" Oh, that's really smart. That's really smart.
Dude, how many ex-Leafs does that team have? They have like 5 at
One,
least.
two. Well, they lost one in Barry, right? But they've got
Yeah.
CC, they got Hyman, they've got Brown, they've got Campbell. So they got a quartet.
Oh
Pretty
man.
funny. Pretty funny.
okay.
I like it. I'm trying to think of what the better value deal is that was signed. The only one I can think of is Blake Wheeler. After that, just if you're looking at a cap it for next year, and that's it. I don't really think you can do better than Connor Brown. And it should be like, here we go again. I'm making it about the Leafs. Should be knowing that the Leafs are the other team involved for Brown. Be curious to see if we offered him the same deal. But who knows? Who
Really?
knows? Good for the
I
Oilers.
I thought that
I
was just
doubt it. I doubt it. I highly, highly doubt because we do not want to put a cap hit
I
on our books next year.
I
yeah,
thought it was
I
just
think
the Oilers in on it. I thought like that was the only thing that was happening. Is Oilers or nothing?
There
no, it
was
was
talk about the Leafs, but
yeah.
probably
We
not
were
the same
sniffing,
deal.
but I could imagine it was a flat like 1 by 1.5.
No
But
bonuses involved,
yeah,
probably.
so I would definitely, like, the other way you take, like, okay, you're taking a cut on the salary, but you bet on yourself to stay healthy this
Yeah.
year, right? If he stays healthy, I think we could reasonably say he'll make that money back. Like, if it's 3 million bonuses, I could reasonably say at least 1.5 is coming to him of that three, basically.
I don't blame him one bit for going with the Oilers, though. I think it's
100%.
a perfect match for both guys involved.
Smart move for the
both
person.
parties.
Now I have a question in terms of that deal alone. Do we start to see more guys taking, take a haircut on the base salary, right? But sign a bonus laden. Like in this case, it's like, guys that missed a lot of time over the past couple of years. So this is like a reclamation contract, basically.
It's only guys that want to do the show me. The guys that took a year off, like another guy's like Pacioretty, or that he didn't take the bonus. Or like
there's also the fact that like you can't just be a regular player signing this. There's only 3 conditions where players get bonuses: rookie deal, a 35 plus deal, or a player who's played 400 games in the NHL that's been on the LTIR for 100 days in a row. And it's a very weird freaking category, but he fits that weird category just like Pacioretty does. So, yeah.
Okay, that's a lot of Brown and that's a lot of Duchesne. Let's go into the Avalanche. They extend Bowen Byram. They signed Jonathan Drouin, Moose. I think they call them Mooseheads, like
Halifax Mooseheads.
Halifax Moosehead reunion, and they signed Matthew Wood to a weird contract, 2.6.
Not Matthew Wood, Miles Wood.
Wood.
Matthew Wood was drafted by I think the Predators, but
right.
Miles Wood. What are the terms on that Miles Wood deal again? I want to start there. That's the one I'm most intrigued by.
2.6x6, so 2.6 million for 6 years.
So it's funny because they signed Miles Wood. I didn't see the term, and I went into our chat and I said, like we talked about with the Canes, guys that just fit the ethos of a team, they sign with a team. And you're like, that makes total sense. I've talked about that with the Bruins, the Lightning. There's a couple teams where we can talk about that, and I kind of got that feeling with Miles Wood and the Avalanche. I said he just looks like he's a Colorado Avalanche. He's a big guy and he's fast. And those are probably the 2 hallmarks of the modern day Colorado Avalanche. I do not like this deal at all. After I saw the number, 2.6 times 6, I'm sorry, but Miles Wood has not shown me enough to warrant that kind of contract. His career high in points is 32, and that was in 2017-18.
I remember that year. Everybody thought it was the next big thing.
Yeah.
I don't mind both moves.
How does he look defensively?
Off the top of my head, I'm not too sure, but he's playing bottom 6 minutes on the Devils. If I had to guess, because he plays on the Devils, his defensive numbers probably looks decent.
Look a lot better than they might be.
Yeah, it might be propped up a bit. I don't hate the player. I like the player, but
it's just a weird deal.
And it's not even 6 years to look.
Like there was a few weird deals that we saw. Like we'll probably get into later. Like I don't know. It's just.
I actually don't mind it.
Very weird.
Like I'm not gonna.
I'm like lukewarm on it.
I've been proven wrong with Joe Sakic so many times, and I'm not gonna count him out this time. I also think that like the cap's going up, and you're playing on Colorado. Like any guy in Colorado instantly like gets good. Like you know how we always talk about the sniff test: Boston, Tampa, Carolina. Colorado's getting to that point. And another thing with Colorado is that they won recently, so they're paying the consequence of not being able to keep their core guys because of they just leave money. This not cap hits. This is
it is possible that we look at 2.5 as the same way we look at maybe 1.5 in 2 years. So there is that.
But it's also
he's
the
also
idea.
27. So maybe I'm overreacting.
But this is also the idea of like you want to sign value guys long term right now to make sure that you can pay your superstars later, right? And for 2.6 million or 2.5 million or whatever it is, let's say 2 years from now, it gets pretty good value in the sense that he's going to be playing third line probably with Ross Colton, I'm assuming. I don't hate it.
I like that. I actually think that's a good combo.
That is the other.
When you said that, okay, I'm starting to get a little bit more than lukewarm on him. The thing that came to mind with me, and it's what I texted you guys as well, is I think I said, would you rather Miles Wood at 2.5 for 6 years or Pierre Engvall at just 500K more for an extra year? I don't even like Engvall, and I was leaning Engvall, man, but okay, I do like that fit with Ross Colton because they feel like 2 really similar guys. I think you could go with a big body line there. I'm coming around on it. On the Durant front, yeah,
I like
Minnesota
it.
Union, decent bet, no problems with that. And the Byram, that's a Byram Bridge deal. I think it's like 2 years at three something.
Yeah.
So that's intriguing. That's a bet on himself deal too, because he's had health problems, but if he stays healthy, he'll get paid coming out of that.
Well,
It's about 3 point something.
one
It's
more
two
thing on
five
the
maybe.
Drouin front. He's gonna be playing with Nate McKinnon and either Renton or Nishushkin.
You think they'll throw him that
Like,
high? Yeah.
yeah, I think they'll put him that high, and
To me,
because
he's
like
just like he's a Malgin replacement. That's what I'm looking at him as.
I think they're going for value chemistry, and if you're playing with McKinnon, Renton, Nishushin, you're gonna get points. I think this is gonna be a deal where he signs he signed for cheap 1x1 and he's gonna put up like 60 points and then he's gonna get paid somewhere else, I think. Like I don't
And
think it's
Duran is
I
finally going to live up to his third overall
I'm
potential,
not gonna
is what
say
you.
live up to his potential. I'm gonna say he's gonna be a beneficiary of playing on like solid team. Like
The
even if he doesn't play with McKinney, he's gonna be playing Lehkonen
Yeah.
or Johansson.
Well, the way I
I'd be
look at
happy
this,
with
Bry,
40 points for him. That's what
the
I'd
And
be
way
on a
I,
happy.
1x1, it's not bad for 40
dude, the
points.
way I look at
That's
this,
value,
it's
right?
if he doesn't succeed here, he's probably not going to succeed anywhere else.
It's a good point.
So
But that's what I mean.
this
Like,
could be the last that we see of Jonathan
but
Duran in this league.
this is
Or
so catered for him. He has to
yeah,
play a
it is.
skillful he has to play a skillful position with a guy he's played with like since he was like 16. You
Mhm.
know, like this if this is made for him, I don't see him not succeeding in this situation.
Well,
I like it, guys. I like it. No.
it's a good bet to make. If you were gonna make a bet on anything,
This
100%.
is the equivalent to the Brown deal. Like I know Brown's a better player, but this is the let me go play with my junior teammate who is one of the top five players in the
In the
NHL.
world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. It's tough to
Okay.
hate. Tough to
Let's
hate.
let's move over to another team that made a couple of moves, small transactions, just because we're about to go on break. Philadelphia Flyers signed Hathaway and Paling.
Can't believe that they signed Garnet Hathaway.
Damn it, man.
That pissed me
Nick
off.
Delorier and
Dude,
Hathaway.
I am going to bring this up later, but the fact that the Flyers signed Hathaway and the Leafs with their very first, like it was literally the first move of the day, and they took
In the
Ryan
whole league.
Reeves. It
First
just
move across the league.
it grinds my gears. Like Garnet Hathaway is going to be just going to be a steady presence on Philly. Hopefully in 2 years when he's up, more teams look at him, I guess. Maybe the Leafs look at him, I guess. I hope.
I kind of
I hope
I,
he I hope he succeeds in Philly to like just keep going. Like he's got the skill. Like he's got the talent.
he's
What he brings is like not like how many like if we're
it's
gonna
almost
go
a light.
across the league, if we're gonna go across the league, how many people bring the same type of skill that Garnet Hathaway does compared to like a small skill guy like we just talked about in Jonathan Drouin, basically. You know what I
There's like
mean?
three
Yeah.
that bring the exact same thing that Hathaway has. It's like Anderson and Wilson. That's
It's
literally
a
it.
very limited number, right?
Yeah. And he's lower down the lineup than Wilson or Anderson, but he's a perfect fourth liner. Like you really can't
Yeah.
get better than Hathaway. And he pots goals. He's had 13 goals last year and 14 the year before. What else do you want from this guy? I love it. I'm definitely jealous. We've been beating the Hathaway drum on this podcast, all three of us, all
All
year.
year. Literally all year.
So it's really tough to be mad with it. And he immediately goes on the line with Nick Delorier, and you can maybe put Ryan Paling in the middle. I actually wouldn't mind them doing the good old the Daniel Winnick move, where you trade a guy at the deadline and then re-sign him in free agency. Go get Zach McEwen,
Yeah.
stick him between Delorier and Hathaway, and
Oh
that is
man.
a
Broad Street Bullies.
bruiser fourth
Nobody
line. I
wants
would
to play
love
that
that.
team.
I would love that.
Oh man. Danny Briere has I
He
think
Done
doesn't
God's
miss.
work.
in one
He doesn't
in
miss.
what like a month? In a month, he has single-handedly turned the trajectory of the Philadelphia Flyers
There's a
Yeah.
vision
franchise.
now.
And they're gonna
Yeah.
finish in dead last next year, and he's still turned around the entire trajectory of this franchise. Like they hit rock bottom. Like rock bottom has passed this team in
Wasn't even
I'll
that
say
bad. It was like it was like a season for them. 2 seasons for them.
and they hit rock bottom exactly. Like you know what I mean? Like
They
Oh,
still have to stay at rock bottom, but like
Yeah, it's
they're
gonna be a couple of
yeah.
years. But
if
I'll
if
tell you
you
what.
asked me how I felt about the Flyers like 3 months ago, I would
Yeah.
have said like this
Dude,
franchise goddamn
mid-March,
sucks. Yeah,
mid-March, you're like, yeah, there's no hope for them. Like
no
that's a
hope. Yeah,
godforsaken land.
I
Like
know. That's how I feel now about Vancouver, but we'll get to Vancouver later.
that's
Ooh.
where actually where I was going just quickly. If I had to ask you, like, would you rather be a Vancouver fan or would you rather be a Philadelphia fan? I'm taking Philly every
Oh,
single day
Oh
Philly.
my
because
Yeah, 10
god,
out of
yeah,
10 times.
yeah.
at least you know where you're going. You see the path to going up. Vancouver, it's just you know, it's like a rocket ship.
It's
You don't know,
it's
it's shaking.
but it's not like there's no Highville in Vancouver. You know what I mean? Like it just seems like everything's at low. Like everything that they do is
They
just
they
at a
really do
low.
feel like the early 2010s Maple Leafs. That's basically what they feel like.
I think they feel like the early 2010s Maple Leaf with a lot more high-end skill.
Sure, that's a good point. Like Pedersen, obviously way better than
Yeah.
Kessel.
And they don't
Um,
deserve that type. They like those guys don't deserve this type of like
yeah.
team. That
So
franchise
yeah, they're
No,
messing
basically,
up
right?
even harder than the 2010s Maple Leafs. It's a good
Yeah.
point. We go on break and then we'll go to the other side of Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh man. All right.
Okay, we just got back from break. We were just in Philadelphia. Let's move it over to Pittsburgh, the other side of Pennsylvania. Like Christian said, they made a lot of moves. Kyle Dubas, I don't know, he did his thing.
Yeah.
Oh man, I'm already a little bit jealous, especially after the Riley Smith move. But that Achari deal is really nice at 2 million for 3 years. I know he's 31, but this is another guy who can play on your fourth line, third line in a pinch, potted 14 goals last year, just like Garnet Hathaway. Kind of brings that same type of value in a different size package. He's 5'10, not 6'3", but man, he's built in terms of width, not
Yeah.
height. This guy cannot be knocked down. He's got the lowest center of gravity in the league. He hits like a rock. Dude's made of granite. His nose is beaten in three different directions at once. Like tells you
It
all you
looks
need
like
to
a
know about him.
dude, that thing looks like a fork in the road. It like splits like halfway through.
Haven't
Oh
seen a
my
nose
god.
like that since Colby Armstrong, man.
Oh
That's
man.
that's what I gotta say. Yeah, I love that move for them. The Jari signing, I know Dubas has already had to like publicly defend Jari already. It's kind of crazy. I
Not the
don't
If he
first
stays
really
time
healthy,
he's
love that
had to
move.
publicly defend his
oh God,
players.
here we go.
No,
Oh
yeah,
my god.
it's not the first time, but
Probably won't be the last, like
Uh,
apparently. I guess
I'll
he'll
I'll
just
be
do
honest
it.
with you guys. Um, I like what he did by filling out the bottom six, but I'm looking
The
at their
top.
I'm looking at their lines right now. I'm not salivating. It's not a team that
I
I'm
like the
like.
top six. I
The
do
top
like that
six looks
top
good.
six.
The top six looks
Yeah.
good, minus Rust, right? But you could put Carter in
No,
there, or
but dude, even
yeah.
Russ, like 46 points in 81 games, that's you if you're the sixth best player in the top six, putting up almost 50 points, that's totally fine.
Watch
No
this.
problems there.
Look at this top six, and then switch over to New Jersey's top nine.
Yeah,
Sure,
but
yes. I
Yeah,
don't think I
that's
don't
two
think I'm
different.
saying that Pittsburgh's gonna win the division. Like that's
I,
how we're talking about New
I'm
Jersey.
They just
I'm
want to get
just
back into the playoffs. That's
Yeah.
I'm
all
just
they want.
well, like I don't know. I'm just not in love with it. I do like the Riley Smith move. I think Elder's gonna do fine, and I like the Achara move a lot. But
Eller and Achari on a fourth line is really nice. It
yes,
is really nice. I think they could use one more top nine guy. But the elephant in the room is that they are a front runner in the Carlson talks. So I know we
oh
had the
really?
Carolina. Yeah, they're the other team there. And to me, I think Carlson makes way more sense fit wise
Pittsburgh.
in Pittsburgh than in Carolina. Just in the sense that Carolina doesn't need Eric Carlson. Pittsburgh could really use Eric Carlson, especially if you're able to offload some of the boat anchors that they have on this team in that deal. Look at guys like I know. Here's the
Petrie.
thing, Michael Granlund is I think he's a Dubas guy because we know he's tried to sign him and trade for him. He wasn't successful either time, but now he's got his Michael Granlund. I don't think he's going to let him go just yet. But yeah, the Petrie deal at 6.25 for the next 2 years. If you can offload that, and then maybe you don't even need San Jose to retain on Carlson. And for San Jose, that sounds great. That's a best of both worlds.
Yeah. But you bring in Petrie, like if they were to trade away Petrie, you send him to San Jose, he's the leadership presence there. Like just let him
Yeah.
be the leader. Let Carlson try to win something, right?
Yeah.
If that goes
You could
through
split the
100,
offensive duties with Letang. Like that takes some pressure off of him. Letang played 24 minutes a night last year,
oof,
guys.
That's
my
That's
too
a
God,
much.
lot.
that's a
And
lot.
their second guy was Petrie at 22 minutes a night. That's a lot for Petrie. Get Carlson in there. That
They
looks
got
really nice.
they brought in Grind Graves. He'll be able to eat up some
Forgot
minutes.
about him. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I actually like that deal. 4.5 as a 28-year-old. I think it's for 5 years. So
I don't
the
mind it.
talk
Yeah.
I've seen on Ryan Graves is kind of the same thing we've heard about Justin Hall, though. Big for nothing. He's 6'5", 220 pounds. Doesn't really hit that much, but he eats shots. He was, I believe, top 20 in the NHL in block shots this year as a defenseman. So he's definitely defensively responsible in the same way that Justin Hall was through positioning, not through bullying you physically. Though, trust me, I don't want to be beside Ryan Graves in the net front. Like I think he could probably do well there, but he's not a Radko Gudas. He's a smart defender, not a brutal
Mean.
defender.
Yeah, not a
Yeah, not
brute.
a mean defender. But
Here's the
that's a total Dubas guy. We know
here.
Justin Hall is a
Yeah,
Dubas guy. So
here is the
yeah,
one difference, like the one distinction that you need to make if you don't want, like, because Justin Hall gets fairly or
I know people
unfairly
are going to hear that and they're going to be like,
slandered.
"Oh, that sucks."
Yeah,
Yeah,
he gets slandered here, but he, at his best, is a steady defenseman. The only problem with Justin Hall was that he makes it seemed like once a game when he had the puck, he just forgot how to play hockey. At
he just
least
started playing
once.
basketball. He would
Yeah,
just pick it up with his glove.
exactly. Like move, like stuff like
That's
that
the
is
best
like,
one.
I want to love you, Justin, but why are you doing that? If Ryan
Yeah.
Graves is confident, all he needs is the confidence on the puck. I think that's what
Yes.
it is. If you
And I
have
don't know if he
confidence,
has the grenade in his game. I'm not familiar
I
with
don't.
how many grenades Ryan Graves throws. I don't
Yeah,
know.
if the grenades per 60 is like half of whatever Justin Hall's number was, dude,
They should be
Then it's
fine.
fine.
fine deal.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Well,
And
that's
the
too
Jari
much.
thing, I'm not big on it, but they needed a goalie. Dubas just kind of painted in a corner, and Jari's 28, so I don't hate it. I don't love it.
It's I don't know. After watching Colorado and Vegas with their goalie situation, I'm a firm believer. Now I'm on team. Just figure out the defensive system and throw whoever you can
Yeah.
in that, and they'll be fine. Like
That's a just bet on your guy type of move. Like bet on the proven commodity. Like they probably still have people in there who trust Jari, I guess you could say.
it's a
And
locker room thing too.
again, like I said, who on the market were you gonna get that was better than Jari? Is
Unless you're going the
Anderson the
trade route.
better? Yeah, is Anderson better than Jari? No. Again, like I said, the only way is like Connor Hellebuck, right? Like that is the only guy
Yeah,
that's seemingly on the market right now.
Or Gibson, but I actually prefer Jari over Gibson in a
Yeah,
vacuum, right? So
okay.
yeah. And listen, if there's anyone you're gonna trust with your cap sheet, it's Dubas. So Pens fans,
yeah,
don't worry.
yeah.
Okay, let's move over to fill out the trio. We're gonna do the New York Rangers signing John Quick, Blake Wheeler, Nick Bonino, and Eric Gustafson. If you like, we always say this, if this is back in like 2014, 2015, man, that's a pretty big haul. But no,
Yeah.
it's in 2023, 2024 potentially. And I don't know. I think they just need to fill out the roster at this point, get some veteran guys in. Do I hate any of the signings? No. Am I in love with any of the moves? No.
It's a
You don't love
six.
that Wheeler
That's a
deal?
6 off season.
It's okay.
Do you know how
I'll
many
be
points Wheeler
honest.
had last year?
I'll be
No.
honest with you, Christian. Though I don't
Yeah.
like Wheeler as a player.
I'm gonna
Like
assume 50.
I think he's like
As a person, I think as a personality is what we don't like him as.
no. I don't like him as a player because I
Okay.
think he fits under the Jonathan Huberdeau secondary assist merchant mold. Uh, and that's not to say that Blake Wheeler is not a great playmaker. I think he is. I think like the deal is fine. Like I think you probably could have maybe finagled a little bit less money, but good for him for getting the money and probably going to a team that will compete, not like the Winnipeg Jets. I just as a player, I think he's just a little bit overhyped. But in this system, he doesn't have to be the core guy. I think that was a big problem in Winnipeg was he was the locker room leader basically. And I don't
Okay.
think he needs to do that here.
No. Mind you, he's going to his former buddy's team is going to Jacob Trouba, who's the captain there. So they're probably
Yeah, that's
aligned
true.
anyways in terms of leadership. Just a rundown here on some Blake Wheeler things. He's
Like 50
36,
points last year, I'm guessing.
55 points, 16 goals, 39 assists for 55 points at 800K with 300 in bonus potential money. So if you're getting 55 points out of a $1 million player, that's you really can't do
Good
much better
value.
than that.
Yeah.
For a team that traded for Patrick Kane and Vlad Tarasenko, you've probably replaced the Tarasenko production. Not as many goals, but you're getting a bit more playmaking. I think in a vacuum, the signing is really, really, really good. But I do think you could look at the Rangers and say this team is maybe getting slower. This team is not getting better defensively. And so in that respect, I can get it. But if
But
just the Wheeler signing, just in general, you cannot complain about it.
Does that remind you of another team, Christian? Getting a bit older, getting a bit slower?
I mean,
we'll get into that later.
We'll get to it, but I'll say no. I'll say no, and we'll get to
Okay.
it. I do want to touch on Gustafsson because 825. I just want to. If there was one team, or if you had to ask me, where's Eric Gustafsson not signing? I would have told you Eric Gustafsson will not be signing with the Pittsburgh Penguins. Why? Because Kyle Dubas is in charge, and Kyle Dubas robbed Eric Gustafsson of money this year by trading for him and making him the number 7D on the Maple Leafs. This guy put up like 40 points with the Washington Capitals, would have continued to put up points if he stayed past the deadline, would have made some money in free agency had he not been traded and became a healthy scratch for the most part on the Leafs.
Or at least
our apologies to Eric Gustafsson.
I always thought that the Gustafsson deal was to get another deal over the line, if I'm not mistaken. Was that not?
I think they looked at it as we're going to trade Sandin. Let's just get older Sandin plus the first round pick. I don't think it was ever with any intention of signing him or anything like that.
Long term.
I think they just said we need a body. He fits the Sandin mold, and that's about it. But selfishly, it screwed Gustafsson. It screwed him.
100%.
Okay. Well, that's okay. I mean, it's done now. Anyway, this is not hockey related, but did you guys see what Kreider posted in his story?
No,
I didn't.
So he's at a concert. He's backstage. Okay, there's like 50,000. I'm gonna say like 5,000 people, like just jumping up and down, and the DJ's a Zibanejad.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Where was that? Was that in New York? Or was that in Sweden?
I have no idea.
Wait. So it was Mika Zibanejad. Was it Mika playing?
Yeah, he's at a concert.
Okay.
Yeah, like he's
pretty sure
that was Lollapalooza, no?
Exactly. They've got it. Pretty sure Lollapalooza in Stockholm. Yeah.
He was headlining Lollapalooza in Stockholm.
I'm not even kidding. Okay. Like
he's actually not bad.
I have one of his songs on my Spotify. Like it's actually a good song. Like I listen to it. It's a good summer EDM banger. I'll play it poolside. I can get down to some Mika Zibanejad, guys. It's not bad.
And it's funny because he has the long hair. It looks like Steve Aoki. She's jumping up and down.
Dude, they got a collab. That'd be great. I would love that. That would be really good.
Wow.
Okay, that's too much Rangers for me for the next little bit. We'll go to Spokane.
The whole quota for the summer right there.
We'll go to Seattle or Spokane. Washington State. They signed Kyler Yamamoto. This is just a short little deal. I think it's 1.5x1. Not a bad deal for them.
I actually don't like what Seattle's done so far. But once again, they're another team in the Carlson sweepstakes. So if they do that, I look at things a bit more differently.
You got the hometown guy home.
Yeah, listen, I got no problems with the Yamamoto deal. You got to think that he replaces either Sprong or Geekie. Probably Geekie's production because Sprong actually put up big numbers, and I don't know if we expect that from Yamamoto. You got to think that Shane Wright's taking a spot next year. You have to think that Ty Cartier is taking a spot next year. I liked what I saw from him in the playoffs. He really impressed me. So you're going to look for internal solutions offensively. I do not like the Dumoulin signing at all. I don't even know if you guys saw that they signed Dumoulin, but Dumoulin is their, I think it's 2 or 3 years at like 3 something. He is their Soucy replacement. At that point, just sign Soucy. I think Soucy got 3.25. Why the hell did you not sign Soucy? He was good for you guys. Dumoulin barely plays. Like he's not healthy all the time, and I don't think he's better than Soucy. So that's a real head scratcher for me. For a team that usually makes moves that I like, I don't like the Dumoulin signing at all.
Even if he is better, how much better is it? Is it worth whatever
I
you
don't like it.
paid, basically. Like unless you got Dumoulin on like, on a fraction. Like if it's instead of 3, it's like 1.5 a year, maybe. Where that's like half the cost.
They got him at
Maybe.
basically the same price,
Yeah.
3.15 versus 3.25. Dumoulin is 31 years old, and I think Soucy's probably 29 or 30.
I think he's a little bit younger. Where did Susie go?
Soucy ended up in Vancouver.
No.
Which
I think that's Vancouver's best signing of the
Poor guy.
period. It's Soucy's 28. I just checked. Soucy's 3 years
Ugh,
younger than
man.
Dumoulin. There must have been something then that they didn't like about Soucy's game, but that surprises me. That's really surprising. Do
we
you
could
guys have anything else on Seattle, or just hopping to Vancouver?
I think let's hop over Vancouver, just a little bit up north, just like Susie himself. They signed Cole, Bluger, and Susie. I'm not in love with any of these moves. I kind of don't like any of them, I'll be honest with you. I don't like the direction Vancouver is going right now, if they even see a direction.
Very middling, no direction. No, I
Sounds
like the
about
Soucy
right.
move. If I had to like grade the Soucy move, I'm giving it a B plus, A minus. I really like the Soucy move. I think he's going to be a stabilizer from them. I think he can play on probably their second pairing. Um, Ian Cole, I don't like at all.
Yeah.
I didn't like him in Tampa.
Man,
He's
he
played
got
Carolina before then. I think
that guy
Pittsburgh
got exposed by the Leafs this play.
multiple
Granted,
times.
he was playing. I remember that one game where he was literally playing like 1D because like all their
He got
defensemen was gone.
turnstile.
He's not a 1D. He's probably a 6D. But dude, if you're Vancouver, you need to make every single signing that you make has to be a 10 out of 10 deal in order for you to right this ship, salvage something.
I'm looking
All
at
those
their
deals.
I'm looking at
Those are
their
like 5,
lineup
6,
right now.
like 6 out of 10 deals, like for all of them. Maybe
I'm
So,
looking
Susie's a 7.
Dave, you just said that he's a 6D. How much do you want to pay your sixth defenseman? League
$2
min to
million max.
1.5,
Yeah,
right? He's making 3 million. What the hell?
yeah,
What the
yeah.
hell? How the hell did this guy get all this
For a
Soucy
team,
money?
for a
Like, what
team
the
that
hell?
for a team that already had no cap space, why are you giving more cap up for guys
He's
like
not
that?
even, dude. He's not even right-handed. Like, he doesn't even fill a need that much either. I don't like it at all. And
Are they
you
just
know
going to
what?
throw him there? Well, he did play right-handed because he was playing with he was
He can
on
play right D, but he's
Edmonds.
left-handed. He's one of those
Yeah,
guys. I still don't like it, especially because there was a guy that they lost who low key I like, Kyle Burrows, who signed for 1.1 million in San Jose. Dude, I'll
give
take
him
Kyle
the time.
Burrows over Ian Cole in a vacuum, especially when he's making a third of his salary and he's like 4 years younger. Yeah, he's 6 years younger. Cole's 34.
Oh,
Terrible deal.
I hate this
D
team.
minus on that deal.
I'm
Bluger,
looking
I
at
like Bluger, and it's bad. I don't like the Bluger deal at all. This guy was a healthy scratch for the Vegas Golden Knights, and he's making 1.9. The Leafs did this last year. They got the healthy scratch for the Colorado Avalanche. His name was Nick Aube-Kubel. We paid him league min, now 1.9 million.
It's
And I
okay
like
now.
Bluger,
It's okay for us. I don't hate it.
but because we signed him at league min, this is not
Making
league min for
1.3
Teddy
now.
Bluger.
Yeah,
This is
that's
not.
true.
And they're putting him
imagine,
at 3C. That's where he's slotted at. Imagine if we signed Nick Aube-Kubel as our 3C.
yeah.
Not
There'd
good.
be no hope
Not
for the
good.
season. There'd be no hope for the
Exactly.
season.
I'm
Not
looking at
good.
their team right now. I
Nah.
think like
But
it's kind of garbage. Like they
That
need
just
another.
seems. It just seems like 3 guys who can take whatever that they like. It seems like they're a team now who, unless you're overpaying for free agents, because people know, like, it's not like guys don't talk. You know what I'm saying?
I agree.
Like, people talk around the league.
there's a
Who
reputation
want-
for Vancouver now.
Who wants to go to Vancouver? Probably only guys that can, you have to
Swedish
overpay.
or
You have to
be Swedish
overpay
want
for
to go
that
there.
for those guys, basically, right?
Yeah.
That's why they're signing guys like Ian
But-
Cole. Like Ian Cole, realistically, like if he gets 2 mil on any other team, are you like that upset? Maybe 1.5. You could probably sweeten it to like 1.5 on a cup contending team, right? But you pay him 3 mil because who else is gonna go there, right? Granted, they don't even need a guy like you probably could have put that 3 mil into anything else that you needed.
Sign
It's
the
just-
guy who you had, Kyle Burrows. Like it's so
Yeah.
stupid. It really does. When you look at the roster, it just looks like a collection of players.
Does Kyle Burrows maybe turn around and say like, I want, but even still, it's like even if he asks for more than what he got in San Jose, because
Even
it's
if it's-
Vancouver,
Yeah.
it's still worth it.
So maybe Kyle Burrows was like, I've
Just
played
like
here. This
no.
place
Yeah.
sucks. Get me out. So listen, there's that. Um,
They just
I
It
better
don't like the
hope.
seems
direction at all. I don't
They
like
just
it at
better
all.
pray
dude,
that Elias Pettersson
it's
gets 150 points.
yeah.
That's their only hope.
It's kind of weird because all the teams that we've heard recently where people are like, I don't want to play there, it seems to be all the Canadian markets. To an extent, the Leafs are now being thrown into that mold, like
We'll get
that
into that later,
category.
Dave.
Yeah.
We are, but Winnipeg, Calgary, Vancouver,
Ottawa
Ru-
to brink it.
Ottawa, dude, that's all of them
So
except for Montreal and Edmonton.
yeah. Yeah, so I was gonna say if you had to power rank just from a destination and an organizational, like who's got the most clout to bring in someone, maybe on like a cheap deal, I would still put Toronto number one. I do still think people value
Toronto 2.
the I put them one. You put Edmonton number one?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
I
Because you're playing
it's
with
fine. You're playing with
Connor
yeah,
McDavid.
McDavid.
They've
Like,
gone to the third round. We haven't. I get it. Totally. I think you get a bit more spotlight in Toronto. So if you're for money making purposes, Toronto won. For winning purposes, maybe Edmonton.
anything else is
Montreal's got to be
garbage.
three.
and then it's just a
Okay.
crapshoot.
But
Like
to
what
me,
else is
in a vacuum, just get rid of the terrible front office. Like to play in Vancouver should be a destination. They should be able to attract guys.
It should be a
I would
privilege.
be
They're the best fans in the league.
and they just like Vancouver's a really nice city. I'd love to live in Vancouver. That sounds awesome. I would totally like to do that. And players don't. That needs to change. That's yeah, it's not
You
good.
yeah,
gotta
and
fix
It's
whose
not
that.
good.
fault is that? It's not the city's
Oh,
fault.
it's
It's
so
not the
many
fans'
faults.
fault.
Lots of fault to go around.
Like,
Yeah.
who's their best left winger? I'm just looking at the. Is
Kuzi?
it Kuzmenko?
Yeah. Hey man, did he put up 40
But okay,
goals?
then okay, then
35?
39.
it's Kuz, it's
39.
Kuzmenko.
Well, that's a lot, man.
Okay, besides Kuzmenko and Brock Besser, who else is their best winger after that? Garland, Polivier,
Yeah.
Mikheyev. Like that's
Beauvillier,
kind of
yeah.
that's not it.
No, listen, man, it's not a good team. JT Miller, like this team doesn't play defense, is what I think we're realizing.
Like, the sad thing is
Too
like
much Vancouver talk, guys. We've done way too much
Here,
Vancouver talk,
this
guys.
here's
year,
the
yeah.
problem.
And it's not,
Is
and it's never in a good light. It's
Yeah.
terrible.
They don't play
Okay.
much defense, and Ian Cole is not going to be the one to
No.
Change that.
shore up
No.
all those problems, basically.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move it to a team that I actually really do like their moves they're making. Barry Trotz, my former Stanley Cup winning coach, is now the GM of Nashville Predators. He's doing God work, Nashville. I'm a big fan of his moves. He's tearing down whatever Poyle left, you know, and just doing his thing. What did he do? It looks to me like he extended Glass, extended Carrier, brought in Ryan
Yeah.
O'Reilly, brought in Shen, and brought in Nyquist.
So
They had no forwards up until like, didn't they have like 2 forwards signed up until like yesterday?
guys,
Yeah, it was like
okay.
the guys that we talk about.
Yeah.
People still don't understand that Tommy Novak, Phil Tomasino, Luke Evangelista, Yuso Parson, that these guys exist. People don't know that. You don't know how much free agency coverage I've watched or listened to, podcasts, TV, all of it. And the talk about Nashville, they've got no forwards. Who can play center? Who the hell do they have a forward? Is Ryan O'Reilly going to be the 1C? What the hell are they doing there? Guys, they have people who produced last year. And even if they're not set in stone that they're going to keep on producing, there's promise there. People need to start mentioning the fact that Tommy Novak, this guy put up 43 points in 51 games. That's 0.85 points per game. I think that's better than Matt Duchene and Ryan Johansson. Like, come on. They exist. They're going to be, I think they're going to try and compete next year, which is weird. Maybe it's not the smartest thing to do, but I do think people are underrating what this team could look like. From the signings, former Leafs, Dave, what did you think?
I think
O'Reilly and Shen.
so. They signed 2.
Which would hurt more?
The O'Reilly, they both hurt.
They both
Don't get me
hurt.
wrong.
They both hurt. Yeah.
The level of pain I won't be able to describe to you, but I think in terms of value for what they bring and like in terms of money, the Ryan O'Reilly deal, A+.
Yes.
That's an A+
Yeah.
for me.
That's a
Luke
great
Shen deal?
AAV. The term isn't terrible.
Yeah, exactly, dude. What's that? 4x4?
4.5 by 4.
4.5 by 4. Fantastic for Ryan, especially like you said, dude. he's probably going to be playing 2C behind who's the center out of those three?
So
It's
Novak.
listen, you've got Novak, Cody Glass, Ryan O'Reilly. That's a trio of centers. They also have this other guy, Yuso Parsonen, who put up 25 points in 45 games. Those are 4 centers who produced at least half a point per game last year. They
yeah,
can put them in almost any order they want. If they wanted to roll 4 lines, New York Islanders style, which Trotz is familiar with, they could.
they could. So that's an A to A plus for me. I think on like not like let's
Agree.
set aside biases here. I think that's an A plus deal.
Yeah.
Luke Shen for me is probably like a C ish. That's a lot of money and a lot of term.
For fit, I give it
Not
a
maybe
A
not in
plus.
terms of
For
maybe not
fit,
in terms of
hear me
term,
out.
but
I like the fit. The
He,
term is a
he,
little much, especially for a team that already has Ryan McDonough making 6.75 for the
yeah,
same term. So they've got both those guys locked up until 2026.
if you look at the on ice like idea though, Luke Shen, stay at home guy, he's basically giving either one of Barry or Yossi free roam.
Yeah.
I like
And
that a
McDonough
lot.
will give the other one.
Like I
I
think about the fit though.
yeah.
You have one guy that's like offensively talented and they can do whatever they want. Like this is Roman Yossi. This is a guy that had like 90 points 2 years ago, and now
He
he
won the
gets
Norris
free
like
roaming.
2 years ago.
Yeah, stole
Did he
that
not?
one from
Yeah.
Carlson, but I, I like the fit, and it's only 3 years. That's
Yeah.
like the
He's
transition period.
33 though. He's 33. And
But
if there's a guy where you have to be like, oh man, could the wheels fall off any day now? It
Yeah.
is Luke Shen over Ryan O'Reilly for me.
He
I
plays
think 2 years would have been fine. 3
he
years, that third year scares
but
me.
but
that
that's the
sounds
thing.
like the
They
Patrick Marleau deal. You know what I mean?
this
Where it was like 1 year too long. I know like that's comparing apples to oranges here, but the way that the way that Shen played for the Leafs last year,
it's 10 out of 10. Like it's fantastic. Now
no,
imagine
no,
that with Yossi
no,
instead of Riley. Come on.
100%. 100%. But I'm saying in terms of the way that he played, like the way that he plays, he is 33 with no regard for his body sometimes. Like
Right.
he will lay somebody out if he feels like it. He's the one jumping into like scraps and stuff. You know what I mean? At 33, it can get a little bit scary. And at 36, is he this like even like half of what he is right now? Because I would say after about 32, especially as a really big defenseman who doesn't rely on like foot speed, in a game that's only getting faster by the day, you need to keep up
I I
basically.
have one last counter argument to this. So worst case scenario, he goes on LTI or he gets hurt. You still have Luke Shen, the biggest locker room guy in the world, with a bunch of youngsters.
Literally the biggest.
That
It's
is a
not
large fella.
He
it's
is
not as
the big
bad.
man.
It's not as bad as you guys make it seem. Like I know the contract itself's
It's
bad, but like the
it's just a
fit is a 10.
mix.
So I think the problem is me and Dave look at it from the perspective of the Leafs and their cap situation. So when we imagine this contract on the Leafs, it's I don't know if you can get by with that. When you look at it from the national perspective, that's where it looks better. And same thing with the O'Reilly one. We look at that number and we'd be like, dude, that could have fit on the Leafs. What the hell?
And
So that's why.
how hypocritical of us, because all year we were like, go get your money. This is a guy who was basically out of the league. What was it, 4 years ago, 5 years ago? Basically out of the league. Now he's getting
playing in the A.
like 9 mil over the next 3 years. Good for him. So
And
you know what?
I'm ecstatic for Luke Shen, and I will always
Good
look back
guy.
on his return to Toronto as with his smile.
and
Right? Like you're never gonna look at that and be like, wow.
He was a part, like, he was a part of the round one win. You know what I mean? Like
The win.
yeah.
No matter what, you can't take that
20
away from him.
almost nearly 15 years after the draft, you know what I mean? Like when the expectations were put all on his shoulder.
he
Good
rose
for
to the
him.
occasion.
Yeah, good for him for
And
being there to do it,
and
basically.
there's
Real quick.
just
Sorry, Brad. Yeah, go ahead.
one more thing on Ryan O'Reilly because I didn't get to speak on it.
Sure.
He said some words about Toronto. He clearly
Oh.
didn't like the fit or like the direction that you guys were headed. If he clearly sees something special with Nashville, and I think that soon the rest of the league will as well. I really like what
So-
Trotz is doing.
Did you hear some of Trotz's quotes this week?
No,
Really good quotes. He said, I don't want you to, like he was saying about players, like he's signing players that he said, I don't want you to come here to get paid. I'm looking for serial winners, is what he called them. And I love that quote. every Trotz quote has been
Oh,
gold,
he's
man.
good.
That's a great quote. I love that. Yeah, I think O'Reilly. This is another guy. Doesn't he look like a Nashville Predator? He looks like a Nashville Predator.
Right.
I can see that guy. He's gonna have a great time in Nashville, boys. He's having a great time. Shout out to Gustav Nyquist as well, my boy, who I was beating the drum for as well. Won't go too in depth on him, but suffice to say that me and Barry Trotz, we like the same players. It looks like so. Thumbs up to Trotz, and I might be doing more Nashville Predators 90 50 10 predictions
No
based on
presidents
how it's
this year,
looking.
though, right?
Not the I'm not doing President's Trophy, but could be other
They're
stuff in
gonna
the
appear.
pipeline.
They might
Yeah.
appear.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move to the finalists. The second best team in the league, technically, the Florida Panthers, the Cats. They get OEL, Mikola, Kulikov, and Riley. Not Morgan Riley, Mike Riley.
Okay.
Four
Getting to these
defensemen.
guys here. Oh, Roger, Olivia. I mean, not Olivier. Evan Rodriguez as well.
Oh, really? Oh, I didn't see
Yeah,
that.
they that was I think 3.9 by 4 for Evan Rodriguez as their Duclair replacement.
I like
I
Rodriguez.
I do too.
I
I like
don't
him a
hate that
lot.
signing, but four defensemen because they know that two of their main demon are going to be hurt to start the season next year. That's Aaron Ekblad and Brandon Montour.
So, Dave, if I came to you and said you can have John Klingberg at 4.15 or OEL at 2.25,
Ooh,
what do you choose?
The same
ooh,
player.
probably.
It's a tough one.
Yeah, it is
So,
a tough one because I think Kling brings a lot more offensively than OEL does, but it's also double the money basically, right?
yeah,
Uh,
it's
but you know what?
so
For 1 year, I guess I'm gonna have to choose the guy that my team signed, but
I think I'm leaning that way too. And I think basically what the tiebreaker is just the fact that Klingberg's right-handed. Let's stick on Florida though. I just wanted to
so
pose that question.
yeah, with OEL, especially with those guys out of the lineup, you said how long did they project them to be out for? Like a month? Because
I think it's about
I'm
right.
not sure.
if it's
Yeah,
I
about
think a month is
if it's
about right.
half a season and those two guys are out,
chalk the
Looks
yikes.
season.
bleak. That looks
If
bleak.
if OEL is your basically like one of your if he's in your top
Gustav
four,
Forsling
basically,
and OEL are your top pair.
yeah, then
Oof.
yikes and yikes. But if you're able to, I think OEL as the 6 or the 5 in Vancouver was fine. Like he was okay.
It's his contract that got him all the slander.
Oh, well, yeah, because his contract was 4 times what he's making
Albatross.
right now, right?
Yeah.
So
They're
I
just
don't
band-aid
hate the
signings.
OEL deal. The Mike Riley is whatever. I mean, he barely played in the NHL
yeah,
last year because of his
is he
contract.
gonna play? He'll probably start out the season.
I probably got a shot. Nico Mikkola is a guy who I wanted the Leafs to maybe acquire at the deadline, and everything I heard is that he played well for the Rangers. He got 2.5 times 3. He's 27, so you're not buying any bad years there. Um, that's not bad.
Going
They're
towards
just
Kulikov,
30.
I don't really
Not
care
bad.
about Kulikov, but
they're just
yeah,
band-aid
Was he not
signings.
already there, Kulikov?
Yeah, he was.
he was back in the day. Yeah. I think the Rodriguez sign is 100% my favorite out of the ones that they made. It's a 3x4 deal. That's really nice. He's 29, takes him to 33, 32. I don't hate that. Right-handed shot. He'll just take Duclair's spot basically. Same cap hit, probably the same production. 20 goals, 50 points. Pretty good.
Okay. A lot of Cats this year, period. Obviously, they made it to the finals, so we did start talking to them for a long time. Okay. I have a question. I want to pose it to both of you guys. Do you guys believe in the Iser plan?
Oh, this is a good one.
Okay. I would need to this is another team where I have to look at the depth chart because I've seen all the signings come in for the Red Wings,
They've made too
but I
many
haven't seen how
signings
it
to
looks.
even like I can't even put a
They
gauge on
almost
like
like got
what the
like
team
half a
looks like.
roster, it feels like.
We'll start with
It has been. They signed like 7 guys.
Yeah.
we'll start with the big one. I just want to pose. You guys know how he is. You guys know how he played. How do you guys see Justin Hall on 3.4x3 in Detroit?
They have
Hmm.
a very weird defense mix.
I
Very weird
kind of
defense
hate it.
mix.
I
I
hate the
don't
bottom 4.
I'm
Yeah,
not a fan. Like,
no.
oof. Justin Hall, what was it? Was it 2 or 2.5 that he was making in Toronto?
He was making 2 mil flat. I think 2 by 3 or 2 by 4 for
Now he's
Justin
making
Hall.
3.4.
Yeah. I think that is a fair deal. That's a fair deal on a team that's not cap strapped like the Leafs. You know what I mean?
So, but I think this is the thing with the Red Wings is this is a team who's probably looking to turn the corner as soon as this year based on the rest of their signings.
Hmm.
So this isn't like the Anaheim scenario where they just turned the corner. They just want to start picking up some points and not being absolutely god awful this year. Red Wings weren't god awful last year. They were just okay, and they want to be in the wild card mix. So I think they're going to get to a point where they will be up against the cap very soon. Um, I'm just looking at it now. They signed Jake Wallman to the exact same deal as Justin Hall.
Yeah, but that guy's good.
3.4.
Yeah,
Exactly. That's my point.
that's the
That's my
point.
point.
He's also
That's the
4 years
point.
younger as well.
Exactly. Exactly. I don't think it's tough to look at it and be too excited. Um, they're
Where
gonna have to hope that I think they're gonna have to rely on Edmondson, Simon Edmondson. He's a prospect that they've got their hopes on. He was drafted 6th overall in 2021. If he can jump in and take a spot from, I don't even
He
know
has
if they
to be
want to take a
Mata.
spot from Oli Mata, but Oli Mata's making 3 mil for this year and next year. There's no spot for him.
yeah.
This is weird. I think they might have still more up their sleeve, honestly. It might not even be on defense. I think maybe they might have to try and flip Edmondson. I don't know. You're gonna block this guy from the NHL again? They got Gostisbehere as well. We didn't even mention that. Um, it's weird. I don't like their defense. I don't.
And then they get conference sprung. Like, do you guys really think you're gonna be competing now?
The
I think
Sprongville's
they're
good.
just
Sprongville's
fine
totally fine.
players.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but
Sprongville is totally,
but do
totally good. 2
yeah,
mil
but
for
like,
And
2
Christian
years.
Fisher as
but do
well.
they think that they're gonna
Yeah,
be
true.
like that's a you sign a
They're
sprung if you think you're gonna be competing, right? Like,
Yeah. So
I don't know.
last year, after free agency, I remember I wrote an article saying here's the 3 most improved teams in the Eastern Conference, and I chose Ottawa, Detroit, and the Devils. So Devils have
You hit on
zoomed the
two of
hell
them.
by, and the Sens and Detroit are still in that same tier. And who's replaced the Devils because Devils are contenders now. The Sabres are there now. So when you think Sabres, Red Wings, Senators, who would you be of those three?
Sabres.
Not the
I
Red
think I
Wings.
think Red Wings is last. I think it goes Sabres, Senators, Red Wings, right?
Yeah.
I think I'll be honest with you. Actually, you know what? I was gonna say I think it's a battle for the bottom between the Sens and the Red Wings, but then I forgot like the Red Wings don't have a Jimmy Stutzy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
Who did they draft again this year? Nate Danielson, I think.
I think
Yes.
so.
That's not a
For the
that's not a
Wings.
needle mover yet. He's gonna have to exceed expectations to be a needle mover.
I don't
Me
know.
and Brian have talked about this. How can you win a Stanley Cup with Lucas Raymond as your best offensive forward? Probably
No.
not. Probably not.
I'm
It's a
not in
weird
love.
roster. It's a weird roster.
Oh, they also signed Klim Kostin as well. I forgot about
They got
that.
him for free because
Yeah,
they took on somebody's contract. Was it
Yeah.
Yamamoto? Yeah, it was Yamamoto.
yeah. It's okay. So I'm looking at they have NHL guys in every spot. That's one thing I'll give them credit
They
for.
have no
There's
X
no
factor.
one there. You're right, but
You have
they
four. They have
have.
zero.
They're gonna try and do this by committee. They're gonna try and do this by probably balancing 3 of the 4 lines, not really loading any of them up, and they're gonna try and get by with this on system. And I actually like Derek Lalonde after the coverage that he had on Sportsnet for the playoffs.
Very
So
insightful.
very
100%.
insightful. I think, yeah, I would absolutely want that guy on my coaching staff. So listen, they have prospects that should be pushing up. The problem is some of these veterans have big deals, so it's going to be tough to really healthy scratch them. But I think it remains to be seen. I think there's an
Yeah.
outside chance that they can compete for the wild card.
With the way that the Atlantic is turning out,
It's chalked for them.
yeah,
Like,
They're looking wild card. Yeah, they
not
cannot
even. Yeah.
pick up a top 3 spot.
I think best case scenario is wild card for them, and
Yeah.
that's if that also depends on one of the biggest factors is are they going to get goaltending this year because Ned last year was awful. Now they signed Reimer, they have Billy Husso, they also have Alex Lyon as in reserve. Why They're going to run 3, I guess.
I think they signed him for 900K. So honestly, like he'll probably be the 3 through and through, but
Yes,
it's not a
but
great
also that is
trio.
somebody
It's
who
whatever.
was, he
Flash in the
really
pan.
carried Florida last year.
Yeah.
Okay. That's a little bleak. Let's go on a quick little break.
Yeah.
Okay, we are back from our break. Okay, let's take it to the aisle. Let's take it to New York. Let's do the New York Islanders. They made a plethora of moves. Scott May,
Extensionville.
Very
yeah,
weird moves.
Mayfield, Sorokin, and Engvall.
Yeah, the only addition is Varlamov, who they had before, right?
I
They're
think you
paying
know
him a
what. So
lot.
he even played with every single move is an extension. Every single move. Um, do we want to start or
Well,
finish with Sorokin?
I don't think the Varlamov one was he not with the where was he last year? Was he with the Avs?
No, it was back in the day. Back in the day. I'll double check for you, but yeah, he's been on the Islanders since 1920. Yeah.
Wow.
He was,
Okay.
but you know what though? Like he took a step back last year in terms of play time. He only played 23 games, so he was full backup. And you know what? Let's not bury the lead. Let's just start with the biggest one. Sorokin,
Hearing ball.
8.25 for was it 8 years
Steal.
for
Yeah.
Sorokin?
Yeah.
Wow. So, okay,
The steal.
that's under the Vasilevsky number. However, this is 5 years later, so the cap has gone up slightly. Um, I
But
do
the,
think if you're gonna make a bet for one of those bona fide like top 5 goalies, that Sorokin's definitely a good bet. So yeah, maybe I don't hate it. It is a big number, and I think we've said that we're trying to slowly move away from big number goalies, but these are one of the rare exceptions.
he's like the top 3 in the league.
Yeah, he's up there with Shesterkin, Vasilevsky, Saros, Hellebuck.
Like
That's
he's
probably
probably
class of the
like he's
league.
1, 2, or 3. Period. Like I don't know for 8.25.
You could
Bobrovsky's
do a
making
lot worse.
10. You can like that's a good deal. This
Yeah,
generational talent
yeah.
for that price.
And we know that Lou always gets his goalie. He finds his goalie. I know that he inherited Sorokin, but that's one thing with Lou teams. The first move he made, it felt like when he came in with the Leafs. Mind you,
Anderson.
this is after the tank year, but it was the Anderson trade. It was the first for Anderson. So
Mhm.
yeah.
Uh, in regards
Yeah.
specifically to Sorokin, like if you're gonna pay a goalie, make sure he's like a generational talent. Make sure he's the best. They did pretty well here. They could have paid him a lot more, and for 8 years too. That's his whole career.
It's a good deal. It's a good deal. Varlamov, I didn't realize the number's pretty
It's
big.
pretty high. It's like 3 million.
2.75 as a backup
Yeah.
for a guy who only played 23 games last year. Because to me, that was signaling that his career is winding down and they want to give Sorokin full starter time. But this contract tells me the opposite. This tells me they think Varlamov has to take a bit of the workload back off of Sorokin's shoulders here. So
I
that's a
think
little weird.
I know you I think it's probably better that I personally I don't like seeing goalies play more than 60 games. I know like contract like if you're paying your goalie you want them to play. But I think for the Isles, I think for any goalie realistically, but for the Isles in particular, when they eventually get back into the playoff picture, you want Sorokin to be as least banged up as possible, as least, whatever. If he's playing 70 games a year and then he has to go into a full, 24 game playoff run, like that's a taxing thing, especially if you just locked them up to 8 years. Your body starts to break down really, 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 really quick. If Varlamov takes 30 games this year, I think that's even if it's like, what would you say he played last year? 23, 24?
Yeah.
That's a 7-game thing, but that could be
Take
the
Sorokin
difference
down to
between
50.
Yeah, that could be the difference between, that, whatever it is down the line. Because realistically, he should be in New York for his whole career, I guess we could say. That maybe
I don't hate
takes
it.
like
Yeah.
a year. Like that gives him a year extra for his career, basically.
Does the theme with all of these signings is that they got a
Sure.
little bit of less money. Like the players all took a little bit less, but they all got term.
Yeah.
And given the
Who's
fact
betting
that
on the fact that we're gonna look at some of these numbers the way we look at them, like a mil less in 3 or 4
yeah,
years, right?
Yeah.
Mayfield at 3.5 for 7 years. He's 30 years old. But maybe that looks like how we looked at Justin
2.9.
Hall's deal at 2,
Yeah.
right? Like it's
Mhm.
so that's the bet there. I like Mayfield. He was one of the guys I targeted for the Leafs, right-handed shot. Um, it's not a terrible deal. It's just that bet on term. It's not a
Yeah.
terrible bet. It feels like it's a very Lou Lamoriello move. We saw him make these moves even in Toronto. Morgan Riley, I think it was like 4x5 or 5x5. Same deal for Kadri.
Nikita Zaitsev.
That's where I was going.
Yeah.
4.25x7. That's the one. That wasn't a good bet. I like this Mayfield bet a bit better. And the Engvall bet I talked about before. I don't hate it. He's 27 years old. He's gonna be making 3 million. That's third liner money, and I think that's what Pierre
He
Engvall is, a
is.
third liner.
That takes him to 34, right? That should be
Yeah,
the
that's
end of Pierre Engvall's like
yeah. You
powers.
might have 1 or 2 bad years in there, but at that point, what's the cap, right?
Yeah,
So
exactly.
I don't hate
It's
that
fine.
as someone who doesn't even like Pierre Engvall. I don't hate it.
This is another like I think like if we're gonna give grades here, like the Sorokin deal, I think that's an A plus. I think
I'll give
can't
it a
go.
flat A.
Yeah, the other two are like B minus maybe. Like they're nothing to
Yeah.
write home about, but I
So
guess
with all these moves, do we think that Islanders are back in the playoff picture? Because I don't.
they still need some goal scoring though.
Yeah, they need goal scoring. I don't think they've really put themselves into.
I counted them out last year. I thought they were the second worst team in the division. I was proven wrong because they were better than my Capitals. But looking at their team now, I'm not in love with it. I think it's kind of
I feel like we
middling.
can
Do you
write in
think that?
stone. We can write it in stone that the Flyers are going to be last in the division.
Yeah,
But between every other team's trying to contend, so I think we can pencil in the Devils and the Hurricanes. It's got to be those guys top two.
As the
Every
the
other
one
team
two.
is up for every other team is just in the same bucket to me. Columbus, Islanders, Rangers, Penguins, and Capitals are all in the same bucket. So they're going to be
There
somewhere
are
from
probably
85 to 95 points.
yeah, there are probably like of those five, there's like who's got like you probably take the Rangers because of who they have in net, right? You know what I mean? As your
the rest are just
the
wild card
third.
teams.
Yeah.
But we know that so
But
Rangers new coach,
there's no
Islanders aging
separation.
team.
Like
They're all
that
in the same bucket for me.
the Rangers should have been that team to take three, even push for one and two, but they're not. So I think
Yeah,
right now that third Metro spot is wide open until we see a separation from any of them. Might not be
yeah.
the Rangers, right? Like it
If
could be
any of
somebody
these
else.
teams come out flat out the gate, like if any of these teams go like 0-5, that might be your season.
Yeah.
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 Okay. Let's move it to DC, the capital of the United States, and probably you can argue capital of the world.
Capital of the hockey universe,
I
right?
was gonna
Not
say that.
Toronto.
I was gonna say that, but then but then I realized, oh shit. Okay. We get Joel Edmondson. We traded for Montreal. We also signed ex-Montreal captain Max Pacioretty. We extend Hunter Shepard, and we bring in some guy named Matthew Phillips. So,
I look at you like some guy named because I told you about him. Like, yeah, he's just some AHL guy.
and I just assumed he was from the Wranglers, and he ended up being from the Wranglers. I looked at his
Yeah.
numbers. He was in the 99th percentile. Like he was like by far
Probably like
the best player in the
MVP
AHL.
yeah, he was like in
Yeah,
the MVP conversation. Back to
and
back seasons too. 68 points in
Matthew
65 games for
Phillips,
Stockton Heat, and then 76 points in 66 games last year.
Matthew Phillips, or Connor McDavid. Who are you taking?
Oh,
I think I know
that's a
it's
tough
mine.
one.
obviously
That's a tough
Matty
one.
Phillips.
Okay. That's probably a Mitch Love move. I don't hate it. I don't know much about him, I'll be honest with you. But if he's gonna bring in if we're gonna sign a guy, let him bring in his guys
Yeah.
from wherever. Hunter Shepard extended. I think that this guy is better than Copley was when he was with us. I'm surprised no one gave him a shot in the NHL yet. He's 27 years old. If he's not gonna be knocking in the NHL soon, if he's not even a backup, it might be over for him in his career. But who knows? Maybe he'll fight Lindgren for a spot. I like Shepard. Hopefully he does well.
So it's
Edmonton,
tough because you have Lindgren at 1.1 for 2 years, right?
it's
So
variable though.
Yeah.
sure, that's a good point. Yeah,
And I think Shepard's on 775, something like that.
yeah,
It's probably
I
better to have more than less. I think that's my thing. Like
for
if
sure.
one, let's say Kemper goes down, you bring
Shepard in,
Lindgren in
yeah,
and you bring Shepard
Shepard
as
up.
the backup. Yeah. It could be a lot worse.
He's got some very good numbers. I'm looking at them right now. Yeah, I like it.
And
I like
another
it.
thing I like about Shepard, so last season was the first year in like, I don't know, I think it was like 30 years that we didn't have a goalie that was like homegrown. I want to get back on that train. I want to get back on the idea we bring the goalies up from our system, we raise them, and then they would
Yeah,
come through our system, right?
same feeling with the Leafs. Honestly, Joe Wall's going to be the first guy in forever.
Since Reimer.
Yeah, but for us
Actually,
it's only
that's not
been
It's
true.
for us
crazy.
it's
Garrett
been like
Sparks.
8 months. For you guys it's been like
Yeah,
anyway, we trade for Joel Edmondson. This means Alexiev probably won't be starting. If any, or it means that he probably has to fight for a spot. Edmondson is 50% retained, which we did pay a hefty price for the
I
third
didn't.
round
I
pick.
didn't know that.
Yeah, he's only on like
Wow.
1.15 for us or something like that.
Yeah, 1.75. I actually thought you guys were taking his full cap. I like the
No,
deal a
no.
lot now. I like that.
Uh, this is a win now move. I wanted to give the youth guys a chance, but Brian
So
McClellan clearly thinks that we can win, so I don't mind the move.
I didn't realize that Alexiev is a lefty. I don't know why I always thought he was a right shot in my
No,
mind.
no,
So yeah, that does take Edmondson Sparrow. So I was gonna say he can fight with TVR.
can't.
Well,
Like our left side's
but
too strong.
yeah, so I guess he really is just the injury replacement guy.
The only thing is, if Ferravari gets hurt, then Alexiev would get the chance to come up. But this is Ferravari's chance. We're probably not going to be doing another pod for the next little bit, so we probably won't be able to talk about Ferravari extension. I'm expecting a 3.75 million x 5 years or a 4 million x 8 years for Ferravari, just based
Hmm.
on the fact that he's, you know, top four defenseman. The numbers are good, but he's a little bit sleeper pick. Like no one really talks about him, but he's a little bit underrated, I think. And last move is Max Pacioretty signs a 1 year deal for $2 million. I think this is great value. Just needs to stay healthy. If he's half of what he was, let's say 3 seasons ago for 2 million, that's insane value. If he gets hurt, it's okay. I
We
mean,
did talk about you guys want the youth movement, right?
yeah,
I think the biggest thing, just looking at your guys' roster, is you guys need some foot speed, big
yeah.
time.
Yeah.
We're probably the slowest team
Ovechkin,
in the league.
Ovechkin's not a burner. Wilson's not a total burner. Mantha's not a burner. Strom's not a burner. Oshie's not a burner. Backstrom doesn't have hips. Pacioretty doesn't have ankles. That's
Our
a lot of
our
guys.
our fastest skater is a defenseman is Ferravari,
Yeah, yeah.
and
But I
I
mean,
don't
hey,
know
Lapierre, Lapierre, right? Protage, those are the
if they need to
guys.
get in. They need to
Those are the
get
Yeah,
into
guys
the
that need to
roster, right?
come up now. Yeah.
yeah.
I like the moves. It's definitely extending our window to get into the playoffs. It's definitely for Ovechkin. These are moves that we're making to get him another chance, but
I
is it
do.
the right
I,
move for the
I look at you
future?
guys. You guys are, like I said, you guys are solidly in that mix of the other five Metro teams. Um, if if there's a world where Backstrom can rejuvenate himself, maybe his hips start working again. If there's a world where Pacioretty can skate just as fine as he was in his brief appearance as the Hurricane with 3 goals in 5 games, then things look good. You guys
We
can definitely compete.
we just might be the most injury prone team in the league. Like it's just
Yeah, yeah.
like it's not even close. Like Oshie like can barely walk. Backstrom has no hips.
Do you think
Wilson's
there's
coming
a
off an
move to be
injury.
made here still? Like, are you expecting a Mantha move or a Kuznetsov move, or do you think they might run with this?
If Kuznetsov is gonna leave, it's gonna be for free, and we're probably gonna retain. And it's gonna be like similar to the Shane move, or sorry, not the Shane, the Ryan Johansson move. And I don't think we're willing to do that. I think we're willing just to
No,
eat up the 2 years left. Mantha I can see being shipped out, but we have to put a sweetener in. No one's gonna take that contract for this season, I guess.
I think honestly, you just keep them both and you
Eat it
play
out.
out the beginning of the year. So this is one thing where I've talked about this with the Leafs because you have a new coach. Everyone gets a fresh start. Every player who had a bad season last year gets a fresh start. You get to say, what does this player look like under Spencer Carberry? So even if, let's say, Carberry can go 1 for 2 on bringing some life back to Mantha Urkuzi's game,
It's a
that's a
win.
win. That's a win. So that's the hope there. You can sell yourself on that hope.
I just hope that Carberry gives the young guys a chance going into next season. That's just the main thing that I'm looking out for. But we'll see. Okay, that's enough DC talk. Let's give you guys what you guys want.
Let's go to the real hockey capital, the real capital of the hockey world.
Sure.
The Toronto Marlies. Let's talk Toronto
Yeah.
Marlies. Dylan
The
Gambrell,
Newfoundland
boys. Yeah.
Growlers.
Marshall Rafai. No.
Okay.
Yeah.
You guys, there's a common theme. Oh wait, sorry. There's one more thing I just want to mention with the Capitals. Just one last thing that I had on my
Yep.
notes. That's pretty
Sure.
important.
Take up more of our time, Brian.
Sorry, we only have one. We only have one player that's under 6 feet.
Wow.
Hey, that's the Vegas model.
Is it who is it? I don't know.
He's the
Is it
one.
Sandy?
Yeah, it's ended, and he's 5'11". So okay.
That's funny.
Okay. Going back to Toronto. Sorry to steal your thunder there, boys. You guys, there's a common theme with what you guys have signed. Max Domi, Tyler Bertuzzi, Ryan Reeves, and John Klingberg. You guys went big, and you guys went feisty. I want to say the tree living model from what we saw in Calgary. Max Domi, Bertuzzi, and Reeves, they're all fighters. I don't know. I'm not in love with these moves. I'll be honest with you guys. I know you guys are starting to turn the page, but I need to see this. I need to see the product.
Yeah, I want to see it on ice, 100%.
We need to go through this. I feel like we have to do this chronologically.
No,
We need to give people the insight of our psyche.
You guys were so mad at one point.
It was a roller coaster for me. It's been a roller coaster of an offseason personally. From seeing teams make trades that I loved, like Riley Smith, Ryan Johansson, seeing other teams buy out players that you would want in the free agent market, Matt Duchene, Blake Wheeler, RFAs go non-tendered, all of these moves, the Alex Newhook trade, Ross Colton, Duclair, all of these moves. And I'm like, where the hell are we? The Toffoli move, where the hell are we in the middle of all this? Not trading our first round pick, Murray's still on the books.
So
I was like,
hands down, one of the most surprising things that I think, like, we had that pegged on from last year that they were going to end up trading their first round pick.
So I was ready to rip Brad. I'm ready to just tear into the sky. I'm talking about like we're back in the Dave Nonis era, pure just hockey man, just talking in his press conferences. I didn't like any of his press conferences. It was standard hockey man answers like, well, there's good players out there, and we're going to try and sign good players, and we have good players, and we're going to try to retain the good. Yeah, dude, he's used the good players line a lot. So I was like, where's my Dubas answers with this insightful talk and these terms I've never heard of and all that? I missed that. But I sent a meme that I made in 2 minutes to our chat last night. The Shaq quote. I think he was talking to NBA center. At this time, he was on the Houston Rockets, Christian Wood. And Shaq is basically in conversation with Christian Wood. He's like, I need to apologize. I was not familiar with your game. And Christian Wood's like, oh, you're a casual. That's my message to Brad Tree Living. I need to apologize, Brian. I was not familiar with your game, but I like the moves you ended up making. What are your thoughts, Dave?
I like that.
I should say, it's not all the moves. This is in total, the total machination, but we can definitely get into the nitty-gritty with each one.
I am on board with 2. I am lukewarm on 1, and I don't really like one of them. Sort of the
and I think we've got the same ones for each of those categories.
I think so too. So I if we do want to go into chronological order, first signing, as we mentioned, the very first signing of the day, I had sat down on my couch with my laptop in my hand. Dude, it was literally what time did free agency open at? 12?
Yeah.
We found out that Ryan Reeves was going to be signing a multi-year deal.
Like 10.
It was straight up like 10 o'clock because I had sat down with a cup of coffee and my laptop in my hand. Then I was like, oh, I could already tell how this day is going to go. I'll be honest with you, too much money, too much term for a guy that's 36. I think he's 36 or 36.
He's 36. He's 36.
He clenches faces.
Yes, I agree.
He hits.
I agree 100%. Dave, I know I could hear I could hear my uncles and my
Yeah, Ryan Reeves.
everybody's like,
Yeah.
yes, that is
Taking
exactly what
fights.
they need. Dude, I get it. They need guys like that. But there was another guy on the market who was legitimately nearly half this guy's age who could do the exact same role in Garnet Hathaway. That's where I was like,
Okay,
But
so
he
here's the
misplaced the
problem though.
money.
If you had to choose, because you would have to choose,
yeah,
no Max Domi to have Hathaway over Reeves. That's what you would have to have. That's the price you would have had to pay.
I would
That's
have
the
said,
problem.
okay, fair. If you're gonna put into
Yeah.
that sort of context, right?
But I can also come back at you with Klingberg. If we didn't sign Klingberg and we
Yeah,
signed Eric Gustafsson, 825K, we could have
somebody
had it
else.
all.
Yeah,
That's the other side of the coin.
yeah.
Let's stay on the Reeves front though. So he did his little interviews with TSN and Sportsnet in his shades on. He looks like he's maybe at a hotel on a patio,
Yeah,
he's outside his room, right?
he is
Yeah. I
$4
don't know.
million
He's probably
richer.
yeah, exactly. He's like, I'm on vacation yesterday. I'm getting paid. So a couple things. I think Brad in his post day one free agency conference, so this is 2 days ago, he basically said it's not just about the punching faces and the hitting. He basically said we're paying Ryan Reeves because of his locker room presence.
Mhm.
And even Reeves, in one of his interviews, can't remember who it was with, basically said we have a quiet locker room and he's coming to liven it up. Those aren't really things you want to be hearing, especially after like how many years are we into this culture, this core? Like this is year 8 we're entering. You don't want to be hearing that it's a quiet room after 8 damn years. And maybe we do have to backtrack here because as this is all happening, we hear about the Ryan O'Reilly move. And some of the stuff that trickles out about Ryan O'Reilly is, and this hasn't been confirmed. I've heard actually conflicting things. Some people saying one thing, some people saying another. One side is saying Ryan O'Reilly did not return because of the fact that we retained Sheldon Keefe. And what evidence do we have of this? Our public evidence is an interview he did, I think, on Overdrive, where he said, I wish we did some things differently in the playoffs. The other side is that he just simply didn't want to play in Toronto itself. So less about the coach and more just about the city, maybe the pressure, the spotlight.
That one's
It
gotta
didn't
hurt.
look like Ryan was fazed by it when he was here. He looked like he thrived in it. But I can understand that if that's how he felt.
I think
I
maybe
tend to subscribe more to the coach thing.
I think maybe he just had the, like, if that's the second story is the one that we're gonna run with, maybe he just had the intention of, okay, I will see out the rest of this year basically with the Leafs. Realistically, it's 6 months that you have to deal with the Toronto media as compared to, he signed 4 years. Like that's 4 years with Nashville's media, then with the Toronto media and the Toronto whatever comes with Toronto.
Yeah,
Like that's a long
exactly.
time, right?
And I
So
think it could be totally possible he looked at the direction of the franchise and said it's a question mark. Whereas in Nashville, there's a path being laid, right? In
yeah.
Toronto, I think every year going forward could be chaos, right? Like we're going to
Well,
be entering every offseason like, uh-oh, what's happening this time? How are we going to do it this time, right? So there's chaos involved there. So it's maybe tough to commit. I do tend to think it's more about the coach and the line juggling and the fit and the culture. The coach and the culture is obviously connected. Um, and we saw Ryan as a positive to add to our culture. And I think he might have looked around and said, there's not what's keeping me here. I can't. It's like the conversation we have with Bunting. He can't be the one guy, the face puncher, the rat. And Ryan O'Reilly can't just be the one culture guy,
Now you have two and a
right?
half.
Yeah, okay. We'll get to that. We'll get to that. I just think it doesn't bode well that we had all that Ryan O'Reilly stuff go down. Does not bode well at
it
all.
doesn't look well on
Optics are terrible.
on a team that I would say for the past 8 years, everybody has we kind of have become more of a model franchise than other teams would like to admit,
Especially around the league.
the other fans would like to
Executives
admit.
love to rave about the Leafs when they can do it anonymously.
Exactly.
It's how many Pierre LeBrun articles have we read where it's like, here's my anonymous conversations
I
with
feel like
executives, and
I
I
feel
love the Leafs. They've done
all
great
the
things.
all the anonymous, like all of those are, it's just oh my god, Ken
They can win
Holland.
with that core and just
It is
everything.
It's just Ken Holland like 15 times, like every article. Like that's it. But yeah, listen, are any of these moves gonna make or break? This is the way that I'm looking at it. Are any of
Mhm.
these moves gonna be the make or break to get us one win in the second round?
You
Maybe.
got one win.
More
They'll get
than
you
one win.
four.
More than
Yeah,
one win
more
in
than
the
one
second
win.
round.
More than one win. Yeah.
Maybe.
Um,
It comes down at the end of the day, it's gonna come down to the four. It's always gonna come down to the four. These guys are just supplementary pieces. In the playoffs, we need those four to step up, which this past season they did for a round, and then they didn't for another round. You need 4 rounds of those four. Tyler Bertuzzi and Max Domi are definitely going to help supplement the scoring that they lacked against Florida. Florida, they needed a lot more firepower against Florida. For whatever reason, I don't know what it was. They looked
Florida
stuck
had
in
balance.
place.
We didn't have balance.
Yeah.
We had a top loaded roster offensively.
They had balance, but they had offensive balance. We had no, like, it was like that we just tried to sit
We didn't
back
have
and
finishers in the bottom
yeah,
six.
yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
Or at
uh,
least the guys who are supposed to be finishers like Yarn Crow didn't finish.
so
And
that's
like, yeah.
that's not going to be Tyler Bertuzzi. Tyler Bertuzzi is going to
No.
be coming in to take. I would imagine it's going to be Mike Bunting's spot, right?
Mhm. Yeah. And he's an
Um,
upgrade on Bunting through and through, honestly.
I think so too, right?
Yeah.
But the caveat is you're also paying him close to double what Mike Bunting is making, right? What is it, 3
Yeah.
point?
Well, so no, Bunting's making 4.5. So
What was it, 4.5?
Bertuzzi's on five
Never
and a
mind.
half. But
So it's
I mean,
an
still,
extra
if you
mil.
even want to look at last year, league min Michael Bunting versus 5.5 for Bertuzzi, you can do that. Um, I have no, I don't. Okay, I gotta do this as well. At the deadline, Domi and Bertuzzi were available. And I said no, honestly, on both of them. I said I'm not interested in either one of them because I think they're defensive liabilities. Um, they still are.
Nothing's
So is
changed.
Klingberg. So
Yep.
is Reeves. But I've always said lean into the direction that you want to go in. Don't go wishy-washy. Don't go Vancouver Canucks and try and pull your team in 5 different directions. Choose a direction and go, and good things can happen or terrible things can happen. But something's going to happen. High event hockey, all that good stuff. We've chosen direction. We're choosing offense. We're choosing depth. We're choosing like
We're
offensive depth.
choosing in your face hockey is what we're
Yes,
choosing.
yes. And I do think these guys had some foot speed because if you look at some of the additions we made at the deadline, O'Reilly and Achari, those are not burners. Bertuzzi can skate. Domi can skate. They can
Reeves
score.
cannot.
Reeves cannot. That's why he's on the fourth line. But yeah, the Reeves thing is, I would have wanted him just in the Simmons role, or at least making Simmons money.
Yeah.
He's not making Simmons money. So
Or like
he's
you
gonna have to
gotta
give us a
pick.
little bit more.
I think you would have had, like, honestly, like, pick one. If it's 1.3, why 3 years basically? And if it's
So
3 years, like,
You had to
yeah.
overpay because
Frank
Minnesota.
Saravalli reported today. Basically, the Wild are willing to give Reeves a $1.5 million for 2 years, and so we had to give that third year to secure him. So he had suitors. That's the interesting thing. He had
That's
suitors.
wild.
He was in demand.
That is literally wild.
So maybe that's maybe that's a good thing that Minnesota Wild wanted to retain him. Maybe that means something because he did help turn their season around. When they traded for him from the Rangers, they were
100%.
middling. They weren't necessarily doing anything crazy, and they ended up in a playoff spot. So yeah, but I think that's a lot of talk for the Reeves. We'll get to Domi Bertuzzi too. Let's get some more Klingberg stuff here.
Yeah.
Also, a Minnesota Wild.
It's a lot of money. That's what it is.
It's a lot. I think this is the one where we can give the lowest grade to.
He doesn't defend.
So
You're guaranteed like
doesn't
40
defend.
points out of him. You're
Worst
guaranteed 40
percentile,
points.
like 0 percentile on defense last season.
His percentile was almost like, I think it was off the board, like how bad
It was nothing.
was.
It was negligible. I pulled up the Dom decision chart, and there was nothing there. There was no bar. I watched some Klingberg highlights. He's got a bomb. He's got a rocket. He does that for he does like to be the fourth forward. I think he actually has better offensive weapons than Gustafsson from what I remember watching of Gustafsson. He'll probably be on PP1, which is good. But unfortunately, it's tough to find lowlights of players. I can't really Google John Klingberg lowlights and watch his defensive turnovers. So
I
that's what we're gonna
think
have to come to grips with.
I think we're gonna get them this year. I think just because he's kind of been out of the spotlight for the past couple of years, we
Yeah.
probably haven't been able to see anything. But
Mhm.
like, you're playing on Minnesota. You were on Anaheim this past year. You know what I mean? Like everybody was
Nobody
having
looked good
lowlights
defensively on
there.
Anaheim.
Yeah.
Nobody. Yeah. That's the
Um,
thing with analytics so far is we don't do a good job at isolating defensive value for players on bad teams. Same thing with good teams. Depth players on good teams. Like if you played for the Boston Bruins, you could be Joe Schmo. Joe Schmo's stats were incredible defensively. He looked like a god out there. So that's kind of the how it looks for Klingberg. To me, you know what I'm looking at it as? I'm looking at it kind of like when we had Cody Ceci come in to replace Nikita Zaitsev. That's kind of my expectation in terms of
John
defensive. Like
Klingberg coming in to replace Justin Hall.
Cody
You're
Ceci with more offense, but
you're taking a coin
as
flip
bad
here.
defensively.
You're
It's a
taking a
bad coin flip. I didn't see any world where Klingberg coming off the year he had should be making more than 4 million. I would have said 2 million.
I don't. Yeah. Anything like with the
Yeah,
type of season that he had to start out the year, it's
yeah.
a surprise that he even has a contract this year, let alone $4 million.
I think anything more than 2 million was an overpay. But what's the bet that Brad's making here? Based off of the intel that we have, he was in on Carlson. I don't think we're going to be in on Carlson anymore.
No.
He was in on Hannafin. He was in on Sandheim. So he wanted a defenseman, and he said, "Let me get budget Eric Carlson." And I think it seems very clear that he wanted a right-handed guy. Carlson's a right-handed guy. Klingberg's a right-handed guy. Hannafin
Swedish.
isn't. Sandheim isn't. Yeah, Swedes, couple Swedes. Um, so I get it, and I will say, even you didn't have to trade anything for him. You didn't have to give up any assets for Klingberg.
Yeah.
You
but
would
you
have had
gave
to
up
do that
cap
for
space.
Carlson. Yes, you give up cap space. I think
You're lucky
he
it's only a 1 year.
exactly. That's a good thing
Yeah.
too. It's a mercenary signing, just like Domi and Bertuzzi. Crazy that Reeves. Who would have if you told people that the Leafs would be signing these four players, which one is getting the most term? The answer was Reeves. You'd be like, "What the absolute hell is going on?"
How long did he sign
Um,
for? 10?
yeah. Listen, I think that there's a world where it works out. It's not
It's a
likely.
gamble.
It's a gamble. It's not my favorite gamble, especially at that number because you could have done other things.
Okay.
It's a gamble
It's
for a team that really doesn't need gambles right now, basically.
Oh, well, okay. So here's the thing, there, because remember, like I said, I've been jealous about all these trades: the Ryan Johansson, the Riley Smiths, the Matt
Yeah.
Duchene, by all this stuff. While they aren't expensive,
they're
they
all
did
gambles.
cost assets. But they did cost assets, and none of these guys cost us assets, and that's important, I think, on the timeline that we're looking at, where they're all on 1 year deals, where you basically punt the scenario where you want to make a big trade to next year
But
because you have
but
extensions to talk about.
the one thing I have to say with that though, like the assets given up for the guys that we mentioned now, again, apples to oranges here. They're nominal. Like it's nominal assets as compared to, I want the best player possible. If that
Sure.
asset that I give up in 10 years, 5 years turns into an NHL player, oh well, we got a cup out of it. That is
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
is my thought process there, right?
So
So
looking at some of those trades again, though. So the Riley Smith one, he has 2 years. Already a no-go for Brad. He's decided, I don't want anyone
1 year.
who has
Yeah.
so
Because he
Riley
has to
Smith one.
commit money to two
Yeah.
guys. Yeah.
Yes. So Riley Smith, not an option. Ryan Johansson, not an option. Kevin Hayes, not an option. Tyler Toffoli, 1 year, Leafs don't have a Sharon Govich to offer. That was the thing there. And I get that. Flames identified a guy they wanted back. So Duclair can't trade for Duclair because he's on Florida. So unless you're getting a team to flip him, they're not going to give you Duclair. Tampa Bay Lightning's not giving you Ross Colton. He's an RFA. You're probably signing him on multi-year. Like, I'm starting to see why Brad went down the path that he did. And I'm starting to see why he didn't spend our first round pick, because unless you're getting a guy, but you don't want to spend a first round pick on a guy who's only here for 1 year. And so if
Yeah.
you're not spending that first round pick on someone who has commitment past this year, it's not a good deal. So
You guys are basically like taking the different like the mindset approach of like we need bruisers now, just try something different, and then next year when everybody's re-signed, we'll see what we can do when the cap's gone up. This is a
and
transitionary
especially
year
in
for
a
you guys.
terrible free agent market,
It,
is it
Yeah,
not a bad idea to say, let's
try
punt
something
on this
different.
free agent market, sign guys
yeah,
for 1 year, and see who's available next free agency?
yeah.
So we have not hurt our long-term financial
Ye-
commitments in this free agency, and sometimes that's the win, right? The win is the deals you don't make.
Yeah.
I'll give you my full decision on what that take is. My take is on what you just said when two guys ink or if they get traded. I need to see pen to paper before I make my final decision because you guys need to win now. You guys have
So
like a five
I
year
feel like
span where you need to
Matthews
win.
is like, yeah, I feel like Matthews is like, at this point, it's like all but guaranteed he's resigning. It's just dependent on the number. But no matter what,
But that's not the guy you're
like,
worried about. The guy you're worried about is the
well,
guy that might like sit out till December.
yes. Well, so here's the thing: is those guys, like their numbers locked in for this year. So
Yep.
in that way, like you're not worrying about it in that sense. I don't think you can start the year with Willie on the roster if he's unsigned. Um, I don't really think that makes sense. Doesn't really make much sense to me. So if it comes to the end of summer and Willie's not signed, I think you have to move on from him. What I did see thrown out as a good theory, and I think it would be my preferred option. I don't know how realistic it is if his ask is 9.5, do you not just try and sign William Nylander at 9.5 times 8 years, give him his no trade, whatever. And in the event that you can't make the cap work next year, can you really not trade him? Is he really not going to have value still on the market if
Depends
you
on the
change your
NTC.
mind?
He'd probably
Even
have
if
full
it's a,
protection.
I don't think they would get full. I don't think anyone gets full no moves for 8 years or anything like that. I think even if you give him a 15 team no trade list, like I think there's a world where you can. Who doesn't want William Nylander? Like he still has value at 9.5 times 8 years. We almost saw JT
Just
Miller get traded after his 8 year extension this past season. And if JT Miller can almost get traded, William Nylander will have
It's
multiple teams
it's
lining up
just
for
a
him.
yeah,
It
it's
just
just a
punts the
bad
problem down the road.
yeah.
it's just a bad like the way that you guys do things too with your front loaded contracts. Like there's only five teams in the league that can afford to do that.
It's a
You
good
know,
point. It's a good point.
like there's
Good
so
point.
many little small things that you guys do that other teams don't, and
Just
it's
can't. That
Sure.
other
yeah.
teams just
Yeah.
cannot do. And
That's part of the
that's the
problem with actually, well, no, the Murray deal isn't really us because that's the Senators who signed it. But I think Murray's making like 6 million in salary this year. That might be part of the problem with offloading him because how many of these lower end
They
teams
can't
want to
afford it.
take on that salary?
If you call up Carolina and it's a fully front loaded contract July 1st, he gets $15 million. They're gonna laugh in your face. You know,
Yeah.
like I don't know. I just think that this year is this year was like the make or break year for you guys, and if not, you guys have to do a little retooling. I know this year became the retooling, and next year is going to be the year you guys go for it with the cap going up and everything. I'm just not sold. Like I need to see this roster on paper before I make a full judgment. And before we move on, we're just going to another quick break. Okay, we are back from our little break. Okay, so we're just going over the Leaf signings. We just finished talking about John Klingberg. Let's move into the big fish, the one that seems that everybody is happy to see on. You know, more face punchers, Max Domi and Tyler Bertuzzi sign 1 year contracts with the Leafs.
uh, what else can you say other than they fill the need that the Leafs did not have in abundance last year? That is what they are doing, right? We talk about like the Leafs had a pest in Michael Bunting. Max Domi is maybe the same amount of pestiness, maybe plus more. Probably also has more of a finish, but it's also something that, needs to be a little bit more consistent. Like Max Domi had a down spell the couple seasons prior to the last one. And in the playoffs, he shows up. That is somebody who you want in the playoffs. Another person
He's
who
good for
shows up,
Dallas.
another player who shows up in the playoffs and hopefully also playing alongside Matthews and Marner in the regular season, which is where I have him pegged in already, is Tyler Bertuzzi. Tyler Bertuzzi was, I think, over a point a game in the Bruins, unfortunate cup run.
10 points in 7 games, including 3 goals.
Yeah. So if
Not bad.
It's pretty good.
man, if Boston went on the run that they thought that they were gonna have, I think he is regarded like he cements himself as like a
Folklore
He's the
hero.
barber chef. He's the barber chef.
yeah, he signs the Barbashev deal 100%.
Except no, he's even getting more. But yeah, like that's he's a folk hero type.
It's Barbashev
Yeah.
plus, like, and then some, right?
Yeah.
But-
Unfortunately, that doesn't work. It doesn't work out for him. Maybe to our advantage because he then goes to a division rival with us, right? Those are two. I think honestly, like, I can't fault either of those signings.
The numbers are fair too. Honestly, so the number on Bertuzzi is, we can call that fair to slightly in our favor at 5.5.
Yeah,
I know the 1-year deal, this is taking the term out of it, just the number.
And the term is very in your
Domi
favor.
Domi at 3 is
Fair.
probably he's probably worth. No, I think that's even more in our favor. I think it's more favorable towards us. I think if he wanted to get, why couldn't he get what Bunting got? 4.5 by 3. He
yeah.
produced more points than Bunting. He can play center. They play the same
That's
amount
true.
of ice time. Bunting doesn't penalty kill, neither does Domi. They're very similar players, except Domi can play center. I looked at this. I was talking to you guys last night. I honestly, off the top of my head, I was like, Domi at center, that's probably iffy. Can he really do it? And then I look at his faceoff percentage. It's 53.7 and 56 in the playoffs this past season. So he can do it. It's there. I don't know. We know he's not the greatest defensively, but we're going to see.
Does he go into the 2C?
Yes.
I think they're going to have a bunch of different looks. I'd probably start him at the 2C because I think that's the most intriguing fit. And Bertuzzi on first line left wing. You put JT at second line left wing, Nyes at 3LW, Kampf and Yarncroke beside him, Lafferty, Holmberg, Reeves. If it's not Holmberg that you want there, he's waiver exempt, so you can go to the Marlies. You have Nick Robertson as an option. You could put Domi at 3C, put Nick Robertson on a third line, move Nyes up. There's a lot you can do. There's a lot of different ways you can do this. You can even demote Robertson and Holmberg. Both of them are waiver exempt. Sign someone else at league min and put them into a spot as well. Like, there's a lot of things you can do. And just on the defensive inability, 1 second, I'm gonna sneeze. Okay, I'm back.
Bless you.
It was good timing. I was worried I wasn't going to get to the mute button in time. On the defensive stuff, I think that's the one thing that we can trust Keefe with so far. I think that's the one thing that we can say he's done a good job at. He's taken players that we wouldn't necessarily trust too much defensively, and at least made them adequate. Guys like Kerfoot became defensively responsible. Yarncroke is great. Bunting didn't hurt us in any way. Even like Gustafsson, high event hockey, but it wasn't crazy terrible.
I don't think we saw enough of Gustafsson to maybe
it's true.
make
It's a
that
very
judgment.
small sample size.
Yeah.
So what I think back to, and this is a comparison that I brought up at the deadline, in argument against guys like Domi and Bertuzzi, is Galchenyuk. Because Galchenyuk came in just as a pick 'em up for Igor Korchkov from the Carolina Hurricanes, and we just said, let's try it. And it worked really well in the regular season. And he didn't burn us defensively at all in the regular season until he burned us in the playoffs.
Yeah.
There was a season.
And I sent you guys a report. I sent you guys someone from Detroit saying, hey guys, Leaf fans, this is what you can expect from Bertuzzi. He skates really well until he's a terrible skater and trips over his feet. He shoots well until he misses wide at the net. He's a great passer until he passes to the other team in front of your net. So it's a lot of the same things that I'm hearing there, and it's probably a lot of the same with Domi too. I even said, I'm pretty sure it's on record here that I said Bertuzzi was the best player for the Bruins, but he was also the best player for the Florida Panthers because he was making lots of passes to them too. So those have to change. Those things have to change. But I actually do trust Keefe to at least give us a fighting chance in that regard.
Just temper it. Just temper it. You don't need to.
Yeah.
You don't need to eliminate that.
Yes.
You can eliminate that from your game, but if it happens, like for the Bertuzzi thing, like I remember that. I think it was what was the game where it was like it was a barn burner. It was like 8-5, I think.
Like
Something
10
like
to
that.
7.
Like
Yeah,
what?
I think that was game
I watched
3 or
that game.
4.
Game 3, game 4.
Oh, in
Wait,
playoffs.
are we talking about
I
the
talking about
Leafs
the
one?
Detroit game.
No,
Detroit game.
it was
No,
the
I think we're talking about this
Boston.
Bruins game.
The
Yeah,
Oh,
Boston,
okay, never mind.
Bruins thing. It was like 7-4, 8-4, or something like that, or
I think
7-5.
it was game 3 or 4. Yeah,
Dude, that game alone, Tyler Bertuzzi must have had 6 turnovers, like bad, like brutal, like
Yeah.
literally
Yes.
just like putting waffles up the ice. If you were able to limit that to 2,
A night.
it's good enough. It's good enough.
like I said, I think we're leaning into the direction where we've said we're giving up some of our defensive, safe attitude for offense. Klingberg, Domi, Bertuzzi provide that. Two more things on Bertuzzi. I watched Bertuzzi highlights. Underrated passer, underrated playmaker. Decent shot. Sometimes can just rip it. Plays the net front. Really active there. Good stick in front of the net. I liked a lot of the things I saw. Some hands sometimes. Second thing, we talk about the sniff test again and how guys just look right in a jersey. We were saying that as soon as the trade happened about Tyler Bertuzzi, that guy was made to be a Bruin, and that's a compliment. And so you have to ask yourself, why isn't he a Bruin right now? And I don't know if you guys saw basically how this went down in terms of the timing, but essentially the Bruins cleared cap space for the purpose of signing Bertuzzi. They traded Taylor Hall and Nick Foligno to the Blackhawks to clear room. They signed guys to smaller deals, Shattenkirk 1 by 1. But then they started committing some more money, Geeky 2 by 1, JVR 1 by 1. All of a sudden, that money dried up. And it was under the assumption that Bertuzzi was going to make a lot on the market for a long time. And the Bruins had to pivot. And basically, Bertuzzi left them hanging because, yeah, he didn't end up signing for term and for big money. I think if the Bruins knew that 5.5 by 1 was an option,
Available.
he would be a Bruins though. He'd be a Bruins though, which that makes me smile. Grin.
So does that make
I'm grinning? I love it.
Does that make that first game against the Bruins? That makes that first game against the Bruins going to be must-see hockey. Like
I wonder how some of those players feel. I wonder if they feel a little bit sour.
Yeah, maybe. I wonder how Bertuzzi feels with that.
Two things out to close out Leafs. 2 things. I said to Brian yesterday, I said there is a world where this roster has 8 20-goal scorers. Maybe that's a little optimistic. It depends on Domi's production going up a little bit to be a 20-goal scorer again. And it depends on health, obviously. And nice. Nice, I feel very confident in. Honestly, I think he's 20 goals feels very much in the realm of possibility for Nice.
What did he have 1 or 2 in the playoffs?
I think he just had the 1, honestly.
I think he just had the 1, right? Dude, but he had the 1, but I thought you could have said he scored 6. Like, that's how much energy the guy brought.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. I'm so excited. I might have to pick up his jersey.
I want to see him as a big complimentary guy. Obviously, I don't trust him as a line driver.
He's going to be sheltered at first, though. He's going to be on the third line. Dude, but that's the thing. He was driving a line. It's crazy. He was driving the line.
He legitimately was.
He was an engine, bro.
I want to see him like playing top 6 minutes with like John Tavares or Austin Matthews. I kind of don't want to see him playing third line with the camp. I think that's a little bit, too safe.
I think you start him there.
I think that's the way.
Yeah.
But when you want to go Domi 3C, that's when you move Nyes up.
When you have
3 scoring lines.
When you have an explosive prospect like this, you just want to see them shine right away, right through the gate. And that's like as a neutral and someone that roots for Nyes, that's just what I want to see.
Keefe will give him that shot eventually. He won't bury him for too long.
He did like he did in the playoffs, right?
Yes,
so it's
and I want to see that again for
exactly.
82 games.
That's a big ask, especially
Peter Laviolette doesn't do that, right, Brian?
Yeah.
He benches them. He sends them down.
He doesn't play them.
Lavio healthy scratches him 2 games into his regular season stint, man. Yeah. So there's that. Tree Living in his post day 1 free agency press conference said, someone asked him like, what are still the the objectives here in the offseason. What roles do you have to fill? And he said depth scoring. And there's two ways to do that. It's going and getting guys externally, or it's from internal growth. I think we can point to two guys there, one more than another. Holmberg in a fourth line role to continue what he was doing last year, which was some decent production. I think 13 points in the 30-ish games.
It's not bad.
It's all right.
Not bad.
But I think he's talking about specifically one person, Nick Robertson. So I think we can take him off of the trade board. I think he's going to give him a shot. And in that world where Nick Robertson also pops off, now we're talking about real offensive depth, real good offensive depth.
That is the fair option. You nurture a guy like Nick. Like, this is the one thing. It's easy for people to just say, oh, trade him because he hasn't produced anything. These guys have put resources behind Nick Robertson.
Yeah.
Not just resources on the ice, off the ice in rehabilitation and that type of stuff. They're not going to give up on Nick Robertson.
He's an investment.
Yeah, right now. Like, it's still way too early for that.
So, I'm trying to think of a Toronto cross sports comparison, and I've got a great one. Dave, who's the Blue Jays version of Nick Robertson? His name also ends in Son, and his first name also starts with N. Reliever, Nate Pearson.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So I think that's a really, I know I led you there for a while, Dave.
Yeah, you did. Because dude, the Jays roster is so, like, there's 53 guys on that roster. I'm like,
yeah, it's
at
true.
First,
yeah, it's called a 40-man roster in the NBA. I mean, in the MLB, it's not 20.
At first,
man.
I thought you might have been alluding to Biggio just because his growth kind of stunted for a little bit.
Yeah,
dude,
he started hot.
Yeah, if Nick Robertson turns into what Kevin Biggio is doing kind of right now and what he kind of projects to be for the rest of the season, it's fine with me. That's an everyday NHL player.
Yeah, chips in here and there. Yeah, but Nate Pearson is the home run move where Nate Pearson now has been a flamethrower in our bullpen.
Yeah.
He's back to that velocity, and this is a guy who had injury concerns for years and years and years. Such high expectations when we drafted him. That's the hope for Nick Robertson.
I remember seeing Nate Pearson like as soon as we drafted him, it was like, what did he throw, like 103?
Yeah, as
I
a
think
starter.
I was like, holy moly. Yeah. That's the X factor, right?
Nick Robinson shoots that hard too, right? I mean, when we saw his clap bomb, it was like
he does.
I remember in the bubble season,
that feels like so long
game. I know. In the tune-up game before the Columbus play-in series, Nicky Robbie destroyed a shot. I can't believe I was watching this blue versus white scrimmage because that's how hockey starved we were, man. But Nicky Robbie looked real good in that.
He did look very good.
So and last thing there, if we have to talk about what are the next moves for the Leafs, is there any more moves? There's just enough space to sign Sammy and jettison Matt Murray into the Sun.
I have breaking news that there's a good chance he might be filing arbitration.
Sammy?
Yeah.
So if Sammy files arbitration, that's a tough one.
4x1.
He might have a good case. In that world. Man, that throws a big wrench because we might have to be talking goalie trades because I think that honestly the ceiling for Sammy's contract from when I looked at cap friendly is $3 million. He can probably get more than $3 million in arbitration, and I don't blame him one bit. So that's okay. Remains to be seen. Yeah, that throws a wrench though. That throws a big wrench. If he comes back at $3 million and you're looking to make a move, it's probably Liljegren, but as I've been beating that drum for a while. I don't know. That's all my Leafs thoughts, guys.
Okay. So this concludes before we close off, let's just talk a little bit. This is 39 episodes, not including the specials that we did for the Leafs playoffs.
Yeah, we're probably looking. Yeah, sorry, this is 40, Brian. Yeah, man.
Right. No, this is 39.
Yeah.
No, this is 40.
Okay, then it's 40. Okay, sure. Yeah. Right. Okay, it's 40.
And it's almost 50 when you want to count the ones that we didn't number.
Oh,
probably
dude,
almost 50.
It's probably itching 50.
Like we've done a lot this year. This when this upload comes out, this will be 100 upload on the channel.
Crazy.
I can't believe we actually did it. Like, obviously the website, we've been doing it for a while now. That's a little bit longer than the podcast, but with the podcast going on, like, obviously hasn't taken off like the way we wanted to, but it was just good. Like kept me up with the league more because I probably would have chalked the season a little bit earlier if we didn't have this.
100%. And in the hypothetical world where the Leafs go to shit, same idea. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
probably like just in chaos mode all the time if I didn't get to talk to you guys. No, it was so much fun. And you guys, like these guys had to give me a little bit of convincing to help out on this. So really appreciate them giving a push and totally don't regret it. It's been really fun.
Here's the thing. We
Yeah.
gave you the push because we knew the insight that you have would
It helped out.
really
It paid out.
would really seal home the podcast. Could you imagine a podcast of just me and Brian talking about hockey? Like, oh,
I'd watch, guys. I'd listen. I would absolutely listen.
yeah,
But
but you would
Well, it wouldn't
listen
be as
and
good.
be like,
There
and
is the
you would be
perfect
like,
match.
but this is what I think about it.
I'd listen and then text you guys after to give me my thoughts. So instead I
Probably
just
better
got to
this
do
way.
it with you guys, right? It's really fun, guys. Really awesome.
Yeah,
10 out of
great
10.
first year, man.
Okay, so we
Yeah.
always do the 90, 50, 10s. So what are the percentages that we'll be doing this come October? Because I have a
90.
solid 77%.
Come
Yeah, I'm at
October,
90. I know he's
Oh,
got, well,
dude,
this guy's got
I'm
commitments, right? So
I'm
he's
at a
got some stuff.
99. At
You're
some
99?
at
What's
some
the
way,
1%, Dave?
some way, somehow. Dude, unless we
What if Brad trades for, I don't know,
no,
trades
no.
for
I'm
Eric
I'm
and Branson,
doing
okay?
I am doing a
That's the
hockey
1%.
podcast regardless
That's a good way
of
to put it.
what how the Leafs look, how and like
That's a
if the
good take,
NHL
yeah.
is in turmoil, I'll still do a hockey podcast. The only way I'm not doing a hockey podcast is if who was it that said, like, I think NASA was like, we're gonna lose Wi-Fi within the next like 3 years.
No way. What?
It was, did you hear that? Oh, dude,
No.
there was some crazy report where it was like NASA predicts that we're gonna
Climate change is making Wi-Fi
some
disappear.
crazy stuff, dude. Unless we
Wi-Fi is
legitimately
escaping through the
lose,
hole in the ozone there.
we revert back to the 1850s and we have to like start churning butters like the Amish or something. Like, I'm doing a hockey podcast, dude. So it's 99 for me.
Count me in there. Count me in that, Dave. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's definitely been a long season. We're gonna take a good 2 months off, I want to say, unless like obviously if
Dude,
we,
unless
some of us
there's
have
a
ideas.
ground shifting, like an NHL shifting trade,
Hey,
probably.
if there's a lockout, when we do a weekly pod, where we go over the hypothetical schedule and what would have happened.
We have to go over like the case hearings from like the NHL lockout. Every time we just relitigate everything.
Dear God. Yeah.
Oh,
I think we're okay. Not living in that world for a while. So unless Gary's got some surprise plans for us. But hey, thank you to anybody who listened. Like, we always look at the
comments,
like how many views and the comments, and everything is appreciated. Even if you just listen for 5 minutes.
We see you, Matt. Commenting.
Yeah, shout out to Matt.
Matt, but
definitely not gonna watch this one, but
the
kudos
best
to Matt for giving us a comment.
The best was Dave's TikToks, and it sparked like arguments, like you.
I will.
He knows how to get a conversation going.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna post more of them for this episode. Like, I wasn't able to for the last one, which is unfortunate, but we were doing other things. But for this one, I'm definitely gonna have more TikToks up, and we'll see the hot takes that we have, and like
or
the hot takes other people have, basically.
Or you know what? We'll even have like I don't understand this, but like now that like this is all on video now that like we've done a season, it's like all of our takes from the season are like cemented in legacy. Like
this is like a time capsule.
Oh yeah.
Yes. Like
that was another thing I was planning on doing was like, if you guys like, if people are interested to watch it, I know like it's thing, but if we were to do like the best moments of like past year, basically,
like,
so like hottest hot takes.
But Dave, you look at God now because you're Kachuk take. Like,
yeah, Dave's gonna start with that one. He's gonna start fire with that one, man.
Like, that was like when you came out, I was like, I don't know, I don't see it working out like that way. And then
Dave, it was just about that Kachuk was gonna be awesome and QB was gonna be crap. And
yeah. Well, I do. Thank God we didn't have. When that trade came out, I was impassioned on Kachuk. Like, the day of, I was like, dude.
No one thought it was gonna be as much of a robbery as you did, and you ended up being right. I'll give you that one.
Listen,
oh
man,
my goodness.
You can't be right 100% of the time, but if you're right 1% of the like whatever, it's still a good feeling. So I have
And
to
then
say, I love that take. That's one of my all time like.
and
Oh,
then another one, do you guys remember that guy we talked about the Norris? And I was like hell bent on Fox, and then David was hell bent on Carlson, and then this random guy commented. I appreciate you listening, by the way, but he gave out like the essay of why Eric Carlson's season is like the greatest defensive season of all time.
Shout out to
Like
that
I
guy, man.
remember
Yeah,
that. Yeah,
yeah.
this guy
We
put up
brought
like
all of the
he
numbers.
has like these
He
citations.
Emily cited
It's
it in our YouTube comments. Like that's
It's Dom
hilarious.
Lefishion's YouTube burner account,
Oh
guys. That's
man. Oh man.
love the passion. Love the
I just
passion.
I just hope for like the goal. My prediction, my 99% prediction for next year is that we have this podcast and our takes come in like nuclear hot, like Oppenheimer hot next. Shout out
Yeah.
to Oppenheimer coming out soon. I'm so excited to watch that movie. I can't even lie.
It's gonna be
I
good.
heard that it comes out the same day as the Barbie movie. Is
Dude,
Yeah.
I'm
true?
pulling a
Yeah.
double feature, man. I'm doing Oppenheimer, Barbie, double feature, man. But yeah, our takes next year. We had some. I feel like it took us.
Our draft takes were terrible. Just pretend those didn't exist. But
Yeah, no,
it's okay.
Yeah.
they did. Wait, which one? The one for this past? Dude, you
The
can't
From last
90,
week.
50,
predict.
10. Yeah,
It's
literally like
so
last
difficult.
episode.
It is so difficult to predict the draft because if nobody like wants to make any moves, like half of our things was
No, people
making
tried.
moves.
McClellan tried.
Yeah,
This
I'm
doesn't
not giving
happen.
myself any excuses. I took 3 L's and they were deserved L's, so it's okay. It's okay. You win some, or you win none,
you
and you
win,
lose all of them. Yeah,
you lose
yeah.
all of them, every single one. Leafs
I still hang my
philosophy.
hat on Tage Thompson. That's
That
the
was
one
that
thing
was
I
good.
got
good
right.
one,
That was a
That
good
was the
take.
one.
That was a big
40
one.
Hey,
goals, Tage
yeah.
Thompson. Is it gonna be
I'll
50 next
tease.
year?
Well,
60.
I mean, I might have to go with someone on Nashville. Might have to hang my hat on a Nashville guy.
I don't know. You
Yeah.
already did that once. I don't know if you want to do it again.
You're not wrong.
Okay.
You're not wrong, Div.
Is there anything else you guys want to
Uh,
say before we close it off?
Oh,
Ah, I don't know.
man.
Trail smoke eaters. What other inside jokes do we have
Dude,
here? I don't know. That's the only one I got.
like
Oh,
because of
Kevin
this
Conroy.
podcast. Kevin Conroy,
Shout
that's
out
a
to
new
Kevin
one.
Conroy.
Dude, big shout out to Kevin Conroy. That's a big one.
Yeah.
Dude, from this podcast, we got to share in the Leafs winning a series. You know what I mean?
That was good.
Like
Yes.
that in itself makes this season
Never take that away.
yeah, it's so special for me, regardless of how the season ended. Like I got to be here with you guys to experience it. That's the best thing about sports is if you're able to share these moments with other people who care as deeply as you do, you like honestly nothing can take it away. Take
Can't
that away
replace it.
from you honestly can. So
Dave,
thank
we
you
talk
to you
about how
guys.
the way the season ended, even the way it began. We
Oh,
keep bringing it up,
my
but me and
God.
Dave were like
That Anaheim, dude, the
five
Anaheim
alarm
episode.
bell.
That
Yeah,
Anaheim episode was hell on earth for
that's another one.
Oh
Living
my
in
God,
infamy.
man. That was a good time. That was
Well,
a good time.
it's like a time capsule. We'll have it here for next season. There's a very likely chance. If there's any other takes that we make, we might do one off if something big happens. Probably not. Give these guys some rest, 2 months off or whatever it is. Maybe some articles coming.
We need as
Maybe.
much of a break as the hockey players do. We do just as much.
Maybe.
Yeah,
Debatable.
start compensating us like Tyler Bertuzzi and Matt Snowy.
I'm gonna start doing dry lands for
Maybe.
the podcast.
But no, it's been a great season, and we wouldn't have it another way. No complaints at all. Everything worked out. Oh, actually, Streamlabs. That's another
Oh
mess.
my God.
Yeah,
We'll figure that one out later.
We are
moved past that.
We'll
We're
definitely have a updated look. Hopefully, I think that's another prediction. There's my 50%. We're gonna have an updated look. I think for season 2.
10%er is Brad is a weekly guest host
Yes.
on the pod. Okay,
Guest
that's
host?
10%. Yeah,
We're
yeah.
gonna have Kevin Conroy on. I'm gonna find a Kevin Conroy.
Just get off the yellow pages.
Yeah, all the Kevin
It's
Conroys.
like in Manitouwadge, Saskatchewan, with like Babcock's neighbor. Hello,
Oh.
Kevin. Yeah.
Kevin.
See you next year, Kevin.
Okay. Before we close off, shout out to Football TV. They did the playoffs for us. They also did Hockey Night in Canada for us. They're, big partner. big help for us. NHLshop.ca. If you want to get your Capitals Max Pacioretty ready jersey or your Leafs Ryan Reeves jersey, that's where to get it. And Chateau Razor.
Big
That's
shout
the
out.
end. That's the end of season 1. Thank you for listening. And I guess we'll see you in September. Bye.